All right, everybody. Hello and welcome to a fundraiser, a telethon, proudly supported, presented by the Los Angeles Tribune. And as you can see with me on depending which side you look at, I have Dr. Kenneth Gray, who
Good
is the
morning.
initiator, the brains, the visionary, the
Not sure if we're having technical difficulties. That's okay. Oh, here.
okay.
That's okay.
Let's see if all right. Something is happening on my end. Dr. Kenneth, will you take it away? Just introduce what we're doing today.
Okay. I know we're having some technical difficulties right now, but this is a fundraiser. This is my second annual fundraiser for the homeless students in our school system and over 1.5 million schools across the country and growing. And by some surveys, it'll probably grow by 12% above that number in 2022, 23, and 24 school year. Now, homelessness comes with a lot of different branches with it. It's not just you can't eat, home, kids living with other kids in cars, hotels. So there's a lot of displacement. So my name is Dr. Kenneth L. Gray, and I own a company called Dominant Force. And in Dominant Force, what we do right now with the Agriculture Science Initiative program is we're actually targeting 131,000 schools. Now, that's a target. Right now, we're currently operating in 5 schools in the Charlotte, North Carolina area, 4 schools, 3 charter, 1 STEM academy, and 1 homeschool program. We are looking to grow next year. I mean, we are really, I guess, at this steroid, getting schools next year on steroids, as I would say. In the next 60 days, we're making phone calls. We're doing a lot right now. There you go. Can you hear me? Okay. I'm not sure if you can hear me.
There, yeah, awesome. I think we're good. I think
All
we're good.
right.
All
Okay.
right. We'll see how long my internet works. But thank
That's
you
okay.
for the introduction and
Mhm.
tell us a little bit because I want the audience. We already have a number in the house.
Mhm.
Anybody who's with us right now, please let us know where you're from. Where are you
Oh,
tuning in from? Where are you looking at us from? And what do you want to know about this program? This is a program, as Dr. Gray said, to help the homeless. It's an agricultural science program coupled not just with learning, but also with confidence, understanding, sustainability, self sufficiency. And one of the things that I find so amazing is the collaboration with the SCLC, which, of course, in itself has a long history. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
yeah. I'm calling in from Maryland. And my actual, everyone asks me, when am I moving? Well, Maryland's my home, but I'm all the time. I'm always traveling somewhere, different states to set up different things. Zoom is helping out right now, but North Carolina, Georgia. Um, I moved to Atlanta, Georgia, about 6 years ago, and I was running a sports program, director for Stone Mountain Community Center, and I met so many amazing people down there. And my biggest concern was when I left, Maryland. I was coaching high school football. I was always worried about my kids' grades falling because they're high while they're playing, but they're low when they're out of season. And God put on my heart, for some reason, agriculture. I didn't know anything about agriculture, but I met a gentleman in Atlanta from the SCLC. That's the Martin Luther King's group down there. And we were in a meeting. We were doing a lot of community bonding with different groups down there. And he had mentioned he had 206 acres of land. Okay, so that sounds great. So with this initiative, along with the Diamond Group, young lady named Dr. Britt, we stayed up brainstorming about how can we come up with a viable way of introducing something to schools to keep kids' grades high. Not only that, but help the homeless, those kids who cannot eat, and displaced families, all in there. Well, Reverend Gant, one particular day, I'm on my treadmill and, God's speaking to me, ask for some land. I'm thinking, I don't really want to ask for any land. So I don't want to. We'll talk about a lot of that. You know the story. So when it really hit me, tears was rolling down my face. And I'm thinking, I don't want to ask this man, but you cannot cross God. I go to the next meeting. I said, Doc, Reverend Gant, that land that you have, would you be interested in donating some of the land to my company? And he said, good God Almighty. And, as an old head, a lot of the old folks who are older than 60 plus, they would know what that means. That ain't a good thing when somebody say good God Almighty sometimes. But in that instance, it was good. He said, well, Coach Gray, I will donate 50 acres of land to your company for that cause. And I said, yeah, that 50 yards would be great. He said, no, you didn't hear me. 50 acres. I was thinking, 50 acres? What am I going to do with 50 acres? But that is what got us here. That's why we're here after 6 years. And now I can report that we have grown from that 50 acres into 5 different schools and growing.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we are today.
So, what are you doing with those acres?
Right now, those acres are still sitting because we are raising money. Last year, we were able to start the program. There's a percentage of monies that we're asking companies to come out and sponsor. It takes about $2,000 to clear 1 acre. And what that does is it allows you to cultivate, plow, grow, all that. And that's what we're doing. Those 50 acres have been sitting there. We are waiting to really get going, but it's about timing. So this is our second annual fundraiser. But in the midst of that, we also grew another 3 acres with Crewwood STEM Academy, who now want to build a garden outside of their school. So a lot of the focus and time is at that school.
Okay.
Matters here in Maryland, where we also started there with the homeless space at SB for the last 5 6 years. So it's a whole lot that's happened. But that land and acres anywhere, we are waiting for everyone and do what we can do, grants, sponsorship, fundraisers like today, and like to get that.
And I think we lost your audio just a little bit just now, Dr. Gray.
Okay, how about now?
That's better. Yeah. Could you just repeat the last two sentences?
Yeah, what I would say is, that 50 acres right now is
Mm-hmm.
sitting there waiting
Right.
for it to be cultivated and cleared. So we
Mm-hmm.
have a total of $2,000 an acre. As we clear, it's about $100,000 that would clear the whole thing. So right
Mm-hmm.
now, this is the reason why we're raising money for that. Not only that, for the causes of the schools that we're having, gardens that we're putting into the schools as we speak, and that's where we are right now.
Okay. And today you're trying to raise some money to help clear this land, right? You
Yes.
have a lot of supporters.
Hmm.
How do you get these supporters on board? What do they like about the program? I know they'll talk about it as well, but what did you tell them?
Well, I think they like me more right now. And I'm thinking, why? But those are just relationships that I've had with folks before this initiative. And I think the character of an individual sometimes helps a lot. And when they know who you are as an individual. Once I broke it all down to them, they saw the need of, true need to help those in the school system. It's not just high school, middle, elementary, it's also colleges. And some of them can identify with this cause, and so really it's about wanting to be a part and wanting to do something to help out with the situation. It's all about giving.
Mhm.
That's one of the reasons why the supporters that I'm assembling is because they're really about helping in the cause of such as this.
So you're saying that there are homeless students in the United States and, of course,
Mhm.
across the globe.
Right.
Um, as a scientist, and since we're doing a fundraiser, we need to ask, where's your evidence for that? How do we know that there are over 1.5 million, and why have we not dealt with them and helped them before?
Well, there's a here in Maryland. There was a law just passed that will give you some of that information. It's called the McKinney veto law, and that's targeting a lot of the homeless problems in Maryland. But it's not just Maryland; it's really a nationwide numbers where you can go just on that site and many sites. Google it popped right up and just Google homeless students or homeless students in the school system, and it would give you a vast array of information what's going on out there. So, like Maryland, again, this year, I think it was May 26th, that law passed, where if the identification of what's homeless, the deemed homeless, that would be if you don't have a fixed residence. That would be if you're sleeping on a friend's couch or a motel, in a car, on a street, and those things right there, you can find that out for yourself. But the alarming part is you can go to the federal government, websites, board of education, and it's all there. It's public news, public information.
But even though it's public, we're not really addressing it.
Hmm.
I mean, if I think about
Right.
the first conversation that you and I had, and I
Hmm.
used to work at a college, and of course, I had some insights working,
Hmm.
not saying that I saw per se a lot of homeless students, but I noticed, of course, some things were going on.
Right.
Kids very early being in the restrooms already, same clothes 4 days in a row,
Hmm.
which is not always a sign, but you get certain implications.
Right.
So, with the fact that we know a lot about this and that there is data,
Yes.
why aren't we doing more?
Well, we also had last year when you and I and we did our first uh, fundraiser on this. We had Joyce Wills, Miss
Hmm.
Wills, who came in. She has what's called Mead Matters for 30 years. She told us she's not just data; she's front line.
Okay.
And that same school, I was the head coach of football at that time. Didn't know it happened because there's a discretionary process for this because
Hmm.
kids can be really brutal to one another, and then it becomes mental health, not
Hmm.
just health and self and confidence. It's a whole lot of factors here. And so when you have someone like her um, that give you the raw data, you don't need Facebook. You don't need Google. You don't need, what you need to do is get active in your communities, go and find out what's going on, because every school has, by law now, under that law, has to have a coordinator right now to head off this problem by law. Mm-hmm. But they're not going to tell you, because one of the things will pop up is they call the invisible millions. No one's talking about it, but we see you. That's why we're here. We see you. We see you, and we're doing something about it.
And it also partially has to do with the fact, right, that like you said, you don't necessarily want to self-identify. You don't want anybody else to identify. And that's with homeless, but also with some other issues, right. Whether it is ADHD, whether it is, not being able to read that well, or whether it is being sick, having a certain kind of sickness that you don't want the whole class to know. So there's a lot of silence and a lot of fear about being identified. And when we're doing this now, how does the audience, for example, know that if they want to contribute time and or money, that it goes to the right place? How do they know?
Well, I want you to do me a favor. Repeat that last part, because I got I wanted to guest text me something.
Don't worry about it. My last question was, if somebody wants to contribute,
right?
Okay, financially, right. Time-wise, with right. programs, with materials, because right. I know there's also, the feeding part, which we'll talk hopefully about as well. How do they know that their money, their efforts go to the real or the right place?
Right. So what happens is now with me, I have a nonprofit partner with Foundations of Mankind, 501(c). So we are doing everything we need to do, whether it's through my company, his company. We are also with this fundraiser, we take the needs of like Meat Matters, and we call and we find out what they need. We donated clothes. We donated so much because we didn't have the funding at the time. Now we're going to get a combination of funding. We'll get a combination of donations. We'll get a combination of just an avenue of who they can call at any time. So there's a database, not just the money, not just the clothes. It's going to be so much more to it, starting through my company. So we talk to the needs of the school. So that's where we go. So if there's a tracking to it, you can call, find it through, I'm going to set up everything through my nonprofit partner. Everything, you can track it as needed. And so we're working on all of that right now. But at this particular point, this is the first time we have actually grown to be this organized. So there's some things we have to put together, but we're here.
And so if somebody wanted to contribute financially, because this is a telethon and you're trying to clear land, okay, is this a tax deductible donation?
Yes.
Since you mentioned a 503(c). Okay?
Absolutely. Even if it's not through the 501(c), it's still tax deductible. I met with my tax folks. Any donation that you give, whether it's Cash App, Zelle, whatever, you keep the record to it to get the receipt, and it's tax. You can get a tax right off from that. Yep.
Awesome. So it's not just that you're helping, you can also get a tax write-off. Tell us a little bit more about the science, because it's called the Agricultural Science Initiative. Right. What is science about it?
Well, the good thing about it is it has a lot of STEM components. And this is the best thing about agriculture. We are all agriculture. So I have one of my teachers will be coming in at about 12:30, giving us a live report of the kids that we're teaching right now in Atlanta, in Charlotte, about 1,000 kids right now. And the first rule to agriculture is you have to understand what agriculture is. We're all agriculture. We come from the earth. So the science part of it is it's mathematics, it's reading, it's all there. Watching the kids grow the soil, see what the soil components are. There's so much with climate change. That's why I have a NASA engineer who deals with climate will be coming on one of my guests. It's all there. Agriculture is everything: cars, boats, money. You name it. It has to come from the earth. Everything you see on earth comes from agriculture.
That's an interesting perspective because some people might argue with you on that one.
In Big Bang or whatever, it's still agriculture.
It's still all the earth. Okay, now I know we're going to have guests who are going to also talk about the initiative and certain aspects of it. You and I have what I like to call a running joke, even though it's based on the truth. And that is whenever you say, I don't wanna.
Yeah, no.
So there have been plenty of times when, you were sitting, you were getting messages, information, somebody was coming to you and you were like, no, I don't wanna. What is that all about?
Well, I think it's the me being as stubborn as I am first. I don't like doing anything. I don't like being told what to do. I don't care what it is. My mother was the only woman in the world that could tell me to do anything and I'll do it. But I was stomping and I had smoke coming out my head and I was doing it. After that, I said, that's it. Well, there was things when I was younger where someone told me that leaders are born, not made. And when you are a born leader, there's something about you just walking in the door, an aura, whatever. And I'm thinking people just latch to it. And it's been like that all my life. Even when I try to run away from some things, don't happen. It's God. Whether I acknowledge it or not, it's God. So the running joke is I don't want to do something because I don't want to do it. But when I do it, it turns out to be something spectacular. But I didn't say no. That's the reason why I did it. Because I may not want to do something, but when I say no, I'm not doing it. When I don't want to, I'm open to trying. And that's what my mother always told me to do. Try. And, again, at the end of the day, all that I have, all that I do, all my friends, is the glory still goes to God, no matter what. That's how I see my don't want to, just a stubborn little boy who defied everything my mother said first. I had to question it. I had to know what it was. My oldest brother just did it. I wasn't my oldest brother. I don't want to do it.
Yeah. I don't want to, but you didn't close the door. You never said no. And I just want to give a quick shout out to Dr. Laura and Joe Ingram. Thanks for being here as well. And everybody else who hasn't chimed in yet. Thank you for being here. We see you. Feel free to ask questions as well, because we have a lot of you on here right now. Tell me a little bit about Charlotte, because there's a program that you are already running, and you mentioned about 1,000 kids. What's that program and how is it working?
Well, right now we are the #1 class in the school system with agriculture. That's a blessing. We've been at it now for 3 months. We started August 22nd. We're in our, going into our 4th month right now. I have 2 instructors that's teaching at the moment at a school called Movement School. There's a charter school there. And we also start on the 13th of January with Coolwood STEM Academy, which was actually with me 4 years ago, but COVID and all the other things got in the way, and we did the groundbreaking ceremony. And the program is named after Joyce Wells, the young lady who's, with Mead Matters. So Charlotte Mecklenburg school system right now, we're teaching what's called a round robin system, where every day there will be a new group of K to 3rd graders come through agriculture each day. So it's not that they're in it every day, but right now, all those kids are learning some aspect of agriculture every week. And it's just I mean, it's just a blessing, and to get the opportunity to run this initiative, but it has another component to it. The other component is if the kids cannot afford breakfast or lunch, we're now putting gardens in every school, outside of the garden, outside of school, whether it's pallet gardens in the soil, beds, or whatever, doesn't matter. We are putting these gardens so these kids can eat healthy and for free. So what's happening is the initiatives right now is growing. Once I mean, I've called already Atlanta schools. I have folks that's going to get back to me next week about, looking at 23. So Charlotte is it right now.
Okay.
I mean, I can't say much to Charlotte. I mean, they are it for me right now. They're my model.
So let me ask you this, because a lot of people talk about, going into school systems, doing things, and one of the reasons that I support this, I mean, there are a number of them, but the teachers that you just mentioned that are running the program right now,
Right.
there is, and I'm trying to find the right words, but it's really, there is a real curriculum,
Yes.
a go from A to Z, and
Mhm.
they're working through it. So it's not just like, oh, I'm going to come in and do something. There
Mhm.
is a STEM-based curriculum. Is that right?
And it's STEM-based curriculum, but it's also guidelines through the Mecklenburg County school system. So there are quarterly reports. They want to make sure that they're being taught on the standard of the school system, which it's not just North Carolina. You don't want to talk about the Department of Education. There's only one Department of Education in America. So under 131,000 schools, they all have to fall under that one department. So that's our target, that's our access. So yes, it is based off of their requirement and their interest of teaching this class. Now we could do after school programs and summer programs. We could do that because eating is year round. You don't stop eating for one day. No, it's year round. So there is no break in food consumption, food growth. So yeah, but if there requirements for teaching the curriculum, yes, and we've met those requirements, and we're able to tailor the requirements or the needs of a school based off their interest in that requirement. Yeah, and one of the perks for me is I found out, and what the North Carolina pay system is for the teachers currently, and I pay just a little above that because I want the teachers, to feel appreciated, because this is a big initiative. This is huge, beyond huge, and everyone can be a part of it. No one is excluded to this, not one person.
And we just saw, one comment. So you have the gardens. The
Mhm.
gardens, though, if I understood you correctly, is an add-on, right? It was initially not necessarily part of it. So I remember our initial conversations, and you have a friend, a colleague, a collaborator, whatever you want to call him, who
Mhm.
comes from the agricultural science side.
Mhm.
So when we're talking about agricultural science, it's not just the in the classroom experience. There is a practical piece to it,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes, and what happens is the curriculum came second, the gardens came first. So the chicken and egg, right? We've had that discussion for many years. Whether you know how to grow in the classroom, well, as kids, when I grew up, no one taught me how to grow. We were just doing that in the community as part of our lifestyle. We had gardens all over the place when I was a kid. I could go to everyone's house and there was a garden somewhere near that house. Okay. And we could eat going down the street. We could stop and get tomatoes and watermelons and whatever. Okay. So the gardens is essential because when Michelle Obama did her first garden on the White House lawn, that's what opened all this up for all of us and for me. because that is federal property. That's under the same guidelines and property as Department of Education. So you have healthy eating, you have practical hands-on. You also have the classroom setting where all the kids are hearing one another learn together. And if they, and trust me, when I made my first visit down there to North Carolina and I watched the classes, it was phenomenal to see these kids from K to 3 know the same thing. The same thing.
And it's interesting because like where I am at now, right? But even in Maryland, where I obviously used to live, there were always little community gardens.
Right.
But here in Germany, there are a lot, you know, we call them like the Schrebergärten, which is like the weekend little places. But people plant stuff there.
Right.
Maybe it hasn't been enough to really be completely self-sufficient, but I've noticed that over the last couple of years, maybe because of COVID, maybe before COVID, but more and more, we even see it like on balconies right now, where people are actually saying, you know, hey, I can grow my own carrots on my balcony. So it seems to be that there is a move towards more living self-sustainable, at least partially, and then maybe going back to exchanging, you know, between neighbors. Do you see that as well, or is it just me paying special attention?
Now, I have a friend. I'm not sure if you remember this friend in Maryland. His name is Conan. He was one of the radio stations, one of my with Radio One. I think he had come to some of the events that we did. He was telling me, and I can research this again, that there's a country that does exactly that, where in a community, homes are designated to grow corn, tomatoes, and they all bring it to one central location, and they all in the community grab from it and eat. That is ideal. Can it be done? Yeah. You know why it can be done? Because in every community that has a school, if you take a circle and do a 3-mile radius around the school, you have kitchens, homes, and places to cook. And what if folks decided to cook and bring food to the school on one day? We do that. Remember Leading by Feeding? When we were here in Maryland with Pete Smith, Councilman Smith, now he won his election, so Councilman Smith, that's my partner. We do that here in Maryland. We've been doing that now since, 4 years ago. We've had Ebony McMorris come out from Radio One. We did it, and that's what it was about. Yes, that is the future. We can grow the food. We can also create farmers markets. We can create healthy festivals. We can create so many things from just one school. Why? Because the radius around one school, you have America, Walmart's, Lowe's, Papa John's, all those kids spend their money outward. Why can't they come in? That's why we're doing this. That's why this fundraiser is important. That's why the awareness of what we're doing to help the least of these is here. So yes, I see that. That's going to be a part of giving back to the community aspect portion. We cannot do this alone.
Yeah. And while you were talking, I want to give a shout out, and I might be mispronouncing her name, to Aina from Norway. I'm going to put her comment in because she is saying, I grow food in containers. In the winter, I bring the containers indoors and continue growing all season.
All season.
So, you know, wonderful. Great job, Aina. Encourage the rest of your community to do the same.
Yeah.
You know, and then do an exchange. So yeah, very cool. Very cool. When it comes to agriculture, I personally say I do not have a green thumb. Okay. I just don't. But you know, some things grow and others don't.
Right.
I can talk to the plants. Sometimes I over talk to them. Sometimes I don't talk enough to them. I love them dearly, but I'm very good with orchids, strangely enough. So what do you tell people who are afraid that they don't have a green thumb or that they couldn't do it? What is your comeback to that?
Well, it's like the old thing, you don't know my journey until you walk in my shoes. And there's something in football that we do. We do what's called cross training. Okay, why? Because sometimes we may not have a 6'6" lineman. We may only have a 5'10" lineman, but somebody has to play that spot. And what happens is when they're for them to move to the next level, and they know they do not fit the criteria to go on to the next level, we train them in a different spot to say, maybe this would be the best thing for you. I would say, because you don't have a green thumb, try. Just grow something. See the connection between the dirt that you are planting a seed and the same place that you and we all come from as individuals, because we come from that same earth. So there's a connection in spirituality there as well. So we appreciate the meal, but we don't always think about who's cooking it for us or planting it for us or putting in the work so that we can eat each and every day. I would say we need to come off of our high horse or our whatever privilege and get dirty sometimes. That's what I would say. Because we're out here trying to help the least of these. We see, and I was in New York. I took a trip to New York, and I came off of Manhattan, and I'm waiting for someone to pick me up. And this guy on a bike stops in front of me. I'm just thinking he was gonna, he was tired of something. But no, he went to the garbage can, and he pulled food out of the garbage can to beat the rat that was trying to go in the garbage can as well. That's what we're talking about here. So this is not about, this is a call for action, period. So take the green thumb or less and get it dirty, because I guarantee you it won't be green when you get it dirty, it'll be brown.
Oh, absolutely. And I couldn't agree more, because that's actually what we do. We had a couple of berries and other things, because one thing may not grow one year, but then something else will grow. And then, some things you learn, the soil is not great, another soil is better. And you actually do soil analysis. Is that right?
I have, him, Mr. He's one of my sponsors of the program, Mr. Craig Stevens. He's my soil scientist. And anytime I want to talk about growing food at any time and under conditions, he will tell me, hey, what's it? And I'm thinking, hey, that's too much for me. You need to come out and find out. But I can put you in front of folks. I have a soil scientist. Food will grow year round under certain conditions. Certain foods will grow even in the winter. Okay. It's not that it's impossible, but God already said it. I have provided everything on earth for you. Why is this such a difficult situation when God has already provided? Well, when you have folks take you to a different place, you lose that consciousness. And what we're trying to do is restore God's consciousness back to everyone and say, without the food, true food, you will expire, because he only gave us 3 elements. That's food, water, and air. Outside of that, we came here naked. So clothes is a nice to have. Shelter is a nice to have. Cars is a nice to have. But without those 3 elements, you could not be dressed well, riding in your car, or living in a home, because you don't have those 3 essential elements. That's what we're teaching for agriculture for kids from K to 12.
And I want to pull up one of the images. And this one, of course, is about the Joyce Wills. Can't speak today. The
That's
Occupation Work Adjustment and Agricultural Program, and the groundbreaking ceremony that you all had. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about that ceremony, what it felt like, because it was and still is a milestone, of course, in the program.
Yeah, that was the first one. You never forget the first. And we did the groundbreaking ceremony there. That was the 3 acres of land that was adopted after the 50 acres, because, when we met with the principal, we met with the liaison, Mr. Mackey, Dr. Ross down there at Coolwood Elementary. We did a fundraiser to bring awareness to it. But then, like I said, their needs for implementation took a little while, because they were doing stenciling for the 3 acres, find out which food they were going to be growing. We had to clear out just a little bit back there, but it wasn't as bad as the 50. So that was for me to actually sign and have that partnership was out of this world for me. to be able to have implemented something like that, to know that we can help these kids in that school, not just that school, in that community. You know, that was an amazing experience for me personally. And again, you give the glory to God, but you got to feel some kind of way when these type of things are taking place.
Do you see yourself, even when you say I don't wanna, and as you said, you're sort of repeating what we know throughout history, it takes a village.
Right.
Do you see yourself as a leader actually, or not?
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't ask to be one. I was born to be what I am, and I have to embrace. Like I told you, I try to be as humble, and I try to be as hidden at times. I don't like this. This is not my first choice. Even when I was the best athlete, coach said, "Well, you have to speak." Oh, what? I don't want to speak. For what? But you are the one everybody knows. I don't care. But what happens is God gives you the tongue, like Moses. Well, how do I lead a multitude, Lord? Right? Well, it's not about you speaking. It's about giving them hope by just sight. Don't go down in the masses. Stay away so they can see you. And that's what I feel that type of leader I am, by show me leader, show me leader, show me leader. Yeah, I know what I am. I didn't ask, but I embrace it. And what can I do about it?
You don't wanna, but you're doing it because you didn't close the door on it. Absolutely. So
Yeah.
how good are you in growing your own garden?
Oh my God. I've dropped watermelon seeds before, and I've watched them grow. That's it. I mean, I'm a coach. I'm an athlete. This is the thing that really gets me about this whole process. Yeah, my oldest brother and I, we would give the shirt off our backs. My mother would do that. My grandma. That's where we come from. It wasn't about agriculture. It's about helping the next person through agriculture. I don't grow anything, and I forget to water the plant. And the plant will get mad at me because you forgot. You ate, but you didn't give me what I need. I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm some type of expert. I find smart people, innovative people, and I have them work for me, with me with them, to get this process started. I don't plant anything. I just own this initiative because I know if we did it right, it would help so many people across this land.
So you are planting the seed, obviously, for this program. But I get your point. I get your point.
Yeah.
When we're talking about feeding, when we're talking about growing, when we're talking about learning in the classroom, and I'm going to expand what this telethon is just about as well, because and I'm going to put up this picture, okay? The telethon is not just about the agricultural science initiative. It also has, if I remember our conversations correctly, shown a number of other things that are going on in the schools, thanks to the very well-founded curriculum that your teachers have. What are some other things where you're finding related and sometimes maybe unrelated to homelessness in the schools right now?
Oh, well, mental health. That's one of the biggest components right now to identity, who they are. I mean, and how do a kid come to school with the same clothes on, shoes not in great condition, and see another kid with everything? There's got to be some kind of mind-blowing situation. And the question would be, is why you and not me? And then do you blame mom and dad, or because these kids, they don't have a choice under mandated law? They cannot quit school until they're at school age to do so. And now some states are adopting the age all the way to 18. So that means you cannot do anything unless you sign for yourself. So that's why we're doing mental health. That's why we're doing, we have financial literacy right now for children and parents that we're starting. and the teachers as well. But it's got to be hard on the teachers to see this each and every day, to not be able to help. Well, we need that mental aspect for them to. We're providing all that for the kids. Your program, leadership, the program that we're going to be implementing as well. So my partners. So what's happening is I can now take a community of professionals like yourself and put it into the school system. Why? Because I'm at the table. I'm not an outsider window shopping anymore. No, I'm at the table. And I know I need you. And I know I need Mr. Stevens. I know I need Sabrina Thompson for climate. I know I need all these folks. I know I need Claude Harrod for State Farm. I know I need those folks. So they are now allowing me to bring the partnership and attachment to us. Timberlake Homes. Look, these folks have been with me for almost 12 years, watching me do the things that I do and supporting the things because they know the character of individual, me. Before I even done agriculture, they was there. So I'm able to bring all of you guys with me.
And you just mentioned the teachers. Mm-hmm. Very often we hear the stereotype that it's really difficult to get into the schools because the teachers don't want it. The staff doesn't want it. Mm-hmm. It seems like you are having quite the opposite experience.
Well, I'm a very charming guy. You know, sometimes you can say some things. Sometimes it's funny. I was, my early years, I did a lot of different things. I was doing home improvement, and this one gentleman, probably about 80 years old, he asked me to do two of his homes, and I'm thinking that's not enough money for what you're asking for. But one day he just pulled me to the side and said, "Mr. Gray," I said, "Yeah." He said, "You're a very charming young man. You could charm a jaybird out of the tree." I said, "Okay." So I have to use these things for my advantage. So what happens is you tell someone the truth, okay, and let them decide on what they want. And then at the end of the day, it's exactly what I say it is. Instead of saying something to tell you what you want to hear and it's a lie, and then they find out that at the later date, man, you're lying to me. That's an altogether different situation. So I'm building lifelong relationships by telling the truth. Being charming or not, truth is the most messiest thing in the world. So if we can deal with this messiness of truth, we can deal with anything we want. Okay. So being honest. And
I'm blinking again. So I'm like going in and out, but it's all about the program anyhow. So it doesn't matter whether I'm like here on screen or not. So it is about the truth. And the truth is that over 1.5 million at the latest count of students are homeless. What are we losing regarding our future if we don't take care of our kids?
Well, this is the funny part. And this is, I mean, really, this is crazy. You go to prison, you don't have to worry about eating, and someone's making $75,000 on every bed of every prisoner in that institution. $75,000 a year just to house a prisoner. And you ask me, what are we losing? Okay, well, first off, we're losing valuable resources of our young minds, of letting them feel like someone matters and someone cares. Okay, they could be anything in this world, but if you don't know, if you have no hope, so we're planting hope here. We're planting. We're showing that with these young people that they matter. They may not have many choices for the mandate, but within that, you go to school and you go home and you get this despair. No, we have to change the narrative. This is just really doing it differently. It's not new, like you said. I mean, agriculture has been here for years. Hell, it built America. Without America being an agriculture country, it wouldn't have sustained itself. We wouldn't have gotten to where we are today without agriculture. Okay, we can't eat buildings. We can't eat cars. We can't eat all this construction out here with new homes and so. We can't eat that, people. But it comes from the earth. someone came up with a mathematical formulation of chemistry to make a brick, to make steel, to make glass, but it's all come from the earth. So what we're trying to do is take care of the real components or essential elements on earth that matter. Human beings. Well, it also affects the ecosystem. If we are not building gardens, our bees are going away. Remember that. Bees are leaving. Why? They're not pollinating. There's nothing else for. Come on. This is not rocket science. We know this. We know this.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned the bees, because that, of course, is a huge issue and very much underestimated. What happens to the ecosystem if the bees are gone, or even on other levels, whether the worm in the ground is gone, whether the deer are gone because we're building more and more buildings.
Sure.
There is an ecosystem that we are a crucial part of, whether we like it or not, I'll have to say, but we can't change it.
Okay.
So it's kind of interesting.
Okay.
You started out before you started this agricultural science initiative, and it's not fair to say you started out, but you're an athlete. You okay, you used to be an athlete. I mean, however you want to phrase it, let's be truthful. But you're very much associated with sports. And when you and I started talking a while ago, it was, you were explaining to me that as a coach, you have a lot of power, positive power. You have a lot of insight into what happens at a school and what happens with the students.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that role, that position, and what insights you gained years ago and compared to what you're doing now with sports.
Well, first off, nothing's really changed. What I mean by that is I'm not on a field, but I'm in the play of life now. My how you want to say it, the terrain has changed. God has allowed me to be the head coach of the world of this agriculture. It's still the same components. It's still the same structure. It's still the same. It's. I mean, you can take a business, you can run a team, you can run anything. That structure is still there. So it's funny that you said that about the power. The other side was, how did I really get into this hot and heavy? It was Miss Wills. We were at a basketball game at my old high school, watching kids at a playoff game. And it was this time of the year, right before Thanksgiving. She said, Coach Gray, I said, hey, Coach Wills, how are you? She said, I need your help. I need to get these baskets for these kids. Some of these kids can't eat. I said, well, what do you need? She said, what do you have? I said, I can give you what's in my pocket. When she broke it down to me, the situation in that school, I said, you have to be kidding me. In this school, Fort Meade, on a military base, this school have all this displaced families and homeless kids in it? She said, yeah. So because I was a popular athlete, because I was a popular coach, I said, hold on for a second. I went down the line to all my alumni and all the people that knew me. And I said, I need you guys to go in your pocket now and give me some money, because this lady needs help for kids in this school. And I came back with a whole hat full of money. I said, will this help? She said, oh my God. And I said, if I can take this and help you to help these kids, then you got me. And that's why. This is why that program is named after her. For 30 years, she was doing this. For 30 years. And we didn't know. And so therefore, my little bit of scratch money don't mean anything. That was years ago. It's gone. But homelessness does not take a break. Hunger does not take a break. So therefore, I don't have time to waste. And I'm not wasting, because I'm building a legacy for my son, my daughter, my friends, to carry this on long after God calls me off. That's why I do this. That's why I'm coach. That's why I love the power, because I have the power of doing something good versus something bad. Still powerful.
Absolutely powerful. And sometimes it's amazing what we can do with just a little bit of effort, just a dime here or there. I want to ask you, of course, also to put your information, in on Facebook so that you
Mhm.
can get more people to contribute whatever they can.
Right.
However, we do have one of your friends, one of your supporters
Hmm.
in the room with us now.
Yeah.
And I'm going to let you introduce this young gentleman. I'm going to take
I
myself
don't
out
know who
partially
it
due to
is.
tech issues. Okay.
Who we have here?
We have Blaine in the
Blaine.
room. I'm
Blaine.
going to bring him in and I'm going to excuse myself so that I don't disrupt the flow.
No, no, no,
So,
no.
first of all, welcome, sir. Nice to have you. I'm going to
Morning.
leave it to you guys to talk about the program and everything else.
Well, let me say this first. I'm gonna have a disclaimer here.
Uh-oh.
Claude Herod put all of us together, right? We may not have met. This might be our first time meeting, but this is not new to us. This is, I mean, the introduction is, but our way of life, our walk of life may, something, you may know somebody, you may personally be affected by something like this. I don't know, but giving is what this is about. So Blaine, thank you, sir. And thank Claude. Well, Claude always said, Coach, whatever you want, y'all do not, boy, I'm so glad I'm a coach. You do not treat coaches bad. How you doing, Blaine?
All right, sir. How are you?
All right. Well, I would say let everybody know who you are, and I have some information about you playing in the National Football League. So, you got the floor, man, and let us know if there's any experiences that you or some family members or community have been affected by homelessness, hunger, something of that nature.
Yeah. So, my name is Blaine Saipaya. I'm originally from California.
Mhm.
Um, I played 6 years in the National Football League. Gotten a chance to meet a couple of great people. A lot of great people actually, and
Yeah,
Claude being one of them.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but as of late, I spent the last 12 years in the education system. The
Mm,
last 6 being in Ohio,
yeah.
um, and also coaching for the football team at the Canton McKinley High School here in Canton, Ohio.
Hmm.
Um, and you know, it's hit the homelessness in schools. It hits on a few different levels. Personally, I've had teammates growing up being in situations where they're couch surfing.
Right.
I've had teammates that
Yep.
would kind of trying to wonder just where their next meal's coming from. And you could kind of when you get to know these people, you know that they're real humble and they're just trying to scrap. And they're
Yes.
just trying to find their way around. And
Hmm.
you can notice some of your teammates or some of your friends kind of eyeing you guys and what you're eating, or just kind of trying not to look. And it's just really up to you as a person. Do you welcome them in and say, "Hey, man, I'm not going to eat all this. You want a piece
Yes.
of it?"
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
it's just a way to kind of like disarm the situation, make them not feel like they're some type of pariah or they're
Right.
not welcome. Hey, man, listen, we're all teammates. This is
That's
an
right.
extended family, and this is what
That's right.
we want you to feel welcome.
That's
And I got a chance to see that as a coach as well. Some of my sons have played on teams where kids have been in tough situations, losing family suddenly,
yeah.
and kind of bouncing
Yeah.
around in the system,
Yeah.
or being in a situation where they're just not getting along with home, and
Hmm.
they felt like
Hmm.
their option was to leave the home was probably more benefit for them
Yeah.
than staying home. And so in some cases they're right.
Hmm.
And in those cases, you just try to do your best. I've kept 7 kids of my own, so it's not like I could really, support those kids in that whole facet of what they needed. But I did what I could.
Right.
And there are a lot of great coaches that have lent their hands to players and what they needed. Um, and a lot of coaches, a lot of players remember those things, and when they get into situations where they can help, I think they do. Um,
Yes.
so
Hmm.
I'm sure you and Claude have some type of connection where
Yeah.
You made an impact on his life, and so he reached out because he's made an impact on my life.
Right.
And it's just, God working in those ways and to connect people that need help. And homelessness is a real situation, real issue, and it's not just a regional thing. It's not just, you know, it's all across this nation. We're struggling. I mean, like I said, I'm originally from California, but I've lived in Michigan. I've lived here in Ohio for a while,
Mhm.
Texas, and then bounced around to different places. And it's you know it's a tough situation for a lot of kids and a lot of people. And I'm not sure that enough people understand that
Yeah.
it's an issue that
It
needs
is.
to be addressed.
Mhm. And it has to, and for me, and thank you for that, because you mentioned one thing: when the kids leaving the home, they're getting emancipated from their families at an early age. And the
Yeah.
first time that I knew about that is we were here at one of the schools in Maryland, in Annapolis, Maryland, right there, with the Naval Academy, all these guys, man. And he was one of my fellow coaches told me, said, Coach, we have kids that are being emancipated from their parents because, the home life or something like that. And I think, what are you talking about? He said, the kids 15 years old on their own, living by themselves because the law allowed them to, you know, leave the parent. And it's crazy. So a lot of it does start from home. It carries over to an institution like the school system where we're supposed to be an extension of our home because a lot of these kids there for 8 to 9 hours a day. Okay,
Mhm.
that's where some of them get 1 or 2 meals. Well, what about that third meal? What about a shower at the end of the day? Those type of things. It's not just a guy thing because when we, as guys, we think like a guy, but there are girls out there that's been affected by it. And they need different attention and it's just a hard situation, but I don't think it's a, a problem that cannot be solved. I just think it needs to be more attention brought to it, you know, and
Yeah.
collectively, I think we can start a new movement on that because, you never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I mean, and it's like I said, it's an issue that needs to have a lot more light shed upon it,
Hmm.
because it does affect a lot more kids. And you're right, it does affect guys and girls,
Hmm.
um, and sometimes more girls because they're not going to want to really open up and share because they're not going to want to be that vulnerable,
Hmm.
particularly. Um, in certain situations, you know how the high school scene is sometimes.
Yes.
Nobody
Yes.
wants to really let them know that they're not really in a
Hmm.
comfortable situation.
Right.
Hey, look, they want people to think that they're up on the latest fashions and
Hmm.
styles, and
Hmm.
and you know, where in fact they're not, they have no idea where their next meal is coming from. And
Well, let me
so,
tell you. Let me tell you. Everything you just said, I was part of a lot of it, but I had a mother that wouldn't allow me to, or my brothers, to understand how our situation was because she never left us. She
mhm,
sacrificed for us. So through her sacrifice, we never felt poor. We never felt like, you grew up in a low income. No, you were an extension of me. You're going to act the way I tell you to act. And that's how we were. But when
right,
you pull back the blanket, right? And I said this last year, and then I was trying to figure out how I was going to end my telethon. And I said, I'm going to do the same thing. Everything you just said, from age 1 to 6, we had no running water, we had no bathroom, we had no electricity, we had no amenities in the house. None. Zero. You could go under the house because it was a cabin, probably where slaves stayed, because it wasn't a house, it was a shack.
wow,
And that's in my lifetime. Okay. But guess what we did not feel? We didn't feel poor. You know why? Because we had a garden outside that house. We could eat at any time of the night. Okay. We could go to the chicken coop and get eggs in the morning because my grandmother at that time made it clear. She would sweep the front part of the of the dirt outside. And if we messed that up, the work that she put in, we were in trouble because it's not where you live, it's how you live.
right.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. But it speaks to your background and your family structure there, and where it was strong.
Yeah.
You guys had a strong familial bond there.
Yeah.
Um, as for me, I mean, it's the same way. The situation is, growing up, I was an only child between my parents. But my grandparents came in and they supported myself, but not only myself, but quite a few of my cousins, and my aunts and uncles, they all spent time living in the same house, and like 3-4 bedroom house. It was no, it wasn't odd to have 15, maybe 20 people living in there at one time or another, and they could stay for a couple of weeks, they could stay for a couple of months, and a few of them stayed for a few years. But they never let us kids really know that we were struggling. They did what they did their best to really, get us going and support us.
But that was the village concept.
Yeah,
it was that village mentality, because my grandmother, I lived with my grandmother and her children. That was my mother, my uncles, my aunts, and my mother's children, right? At that same time in that dwelling, where most of our family members were in the whole community. In those communities, they had light, they had running water. We didn't, right? But we were still family. So it was not a thing that we had to worry about how they lived, because we were eating too. We had to cut our own wood, but we were eating in the way that my grandmother ran that house to sacrifice for those kids. And that was the greatest thing about me growing up the way I did, and giving back was easy for me. Now, this is nothing for me. I don't have the latest wear because I choose not to. Okay. But I can do it if I chose to. But when you don't have that choice, okay, it's like you and Claude. We need to start doing these things together in Ohio, in Maryland, and Georgia, and just do it. Not talk about it, just be about it. And that's what this is about today. Not just raising money, but it's also bringing together individuals for a common cause.
Absolutely.
And I would like to ask you a question, sir, because you mentioned you're also in the school systems, and obviously you were a player. You still are. I think you never stop. Once you're in it. Mentioning and listening to you both about families, the family structure, of course, that has changed a lot. And I'm going to throw in, I'm not good at sports, but I'm going to throw a left curve. Okay. Let's just call it that. How important do you think is social media in the unwillingness or inability to be vulnerable nowadays?
I think it's a big factor. I think it's the kids nowadays. They want to build this persona of who they would want to be, as opposed to who they really are. And I think it's basically just taking it to the next level. Like we were talking about how kids can be, oh, I have the latest style, I'm this, I'm that. Well, now it's taking it to a larger platform that reaches more people using social media. And there's a number of people on there that don't really live the lifestyle they're talking about. But our kids don't really. I don't care. I don't know if they really care, or if they just don't know that that's really not how they live. But that's kind of what they aspire to do, and that's what they aspire to be. I mean, it's an issue, and I'm sure in a lot of different schools, and where you have kids that they're huddling in the corner under their desk watching the newest TikTok, or want to learn the newest dance, or just wanting to learn things. And so I think having social media, while I think its intent was good natured, I think it's kind of become more of a distraction for our kids rather than anything else, and they would rather keep that persona because that's what they want to be, as opposed to really building something that they want, in the real world.
And what I would say is, if you want to crash the internet and really shut these companies down, show the despair of America every day, instead of twerking and these TikTok things and all this other stuff. You show the real truth of America, what's out here on the other side. These companies will go out of business because they're marketing that what we're talking about to be something that they're not each and every day. There are people who sit in rooms. There's a class action lawsuit against Grand Theft Auto in Canada because their marketing was about cocaine addicts that would binge for 48 to 72 hours and not do anything but stay up all night. Look at that video. Kids do the same thing. They stay up for 2 days or more playing that game. I know I have nephews who did that. Okay. So this is not about what you think. This is about marketing. So if we showed kids who couldn't eat all day, they would turn that TikTok off. They would turn the social media off because it hits the purse strings of the facts that this is what really life is about out here for a lot of people. Okay.
Yeah. I think turning a mirror to everyone's plight
Absolutely.
and giving people a window to really see what life is really like. I think it would definitely deter them from really trying to live that life.
That's right. We used to have this thing years ago called Scare Street. First time the television show has ever showed the inside of a prison where it had individuals will go in and have actual inmates talk to them, Scare Street, with uncut language. The first time ever. And I think every parent who had a problem child made that child watch that thing at the time. Or the ones who they were fearful that they would go down that route, because I was one of them who had to watch it.
And I have another question, because we're talking here, of course, about homelessness, about finding ways to get out of despair, whether you had the chance to get emancipated from your parents, whether you're just trying to get out. Especially in the United States, I've noticed that one avenue that a lot of young males particularly, but more and more also young females are now trying is sports.
Right.
Okay. They're trying to get into basketball. They're trying to get into football as a way out. How sensible is that versus learning how to feed yourself? What are your gentlemen's thoughts on that?
Well, for me, I think playing sports, I think it gives them a safe place to go for one. And it gives them a guaranteed next meal. I mean, some situations are different in other high schools, but here at the high school that I work at, we actually try to feed the kids after practices. And I know they don't do that at every school, but it's just another guaranteed meal for our kids here to have. So whether they like the sport or not, one, it's a safe place.
Yes.
They don't have to be at home. They know that it's going to be a roof over their head, and they don't have to worry about something negative happening. Right. Two, they get fed, and it may not be, a gourmet meal, but it's something that to keep them, keep their bellies full. Yes. And two, also too, it adds in that social aspect, because now you're with your peers, and it's kind of that comfort level. You don't have to have that lonely feeling because you have, your classmates, people you see walking in the hall. So now you can start building those kind of relationships. So I actually think them being a part of sports is more of an asset than it is, a negative point, because it does help them build social skills. It does help them build team working skills, and a lot of those things that they can use in everyday life, whether in work or at school or just in anything. And it helps them build that confidence for them to be able to, I think sports is what it was intended to do, help them build that confidence in themselves to be able to get out there and, be able to take care of themselves.
Right. It's also an extended family.
Absolutely. Yes.
From a coach, as a head coach, you are running your team. There's no democracy in team. It's a dictatorship. It's my team. I don't care what you think. I'm going to run it the way I want to. But when those kids leave, like I was one of them, there was a time when my mother had to call and find out if I was coming home because I was with my friends all the time. And the reason why my friends wanted me, because I was a cook. I could cook well. So we used to have 10 guys at one house, and the mom was okay to have us there. We were fine. And I know the moms and dad, I know my mother and other mothers spoke. That's who they were. They communicated back then to find out where my child is. So we were always together, always. So if we were always together, No problem. So I'm cooking. I'm also the designated driver. You know why I'm designated driver? Because some of those guys were doing some things that I wasn't doing at the time. I was drinking.
Right.
So we took care of each other. That's what the discipline of the team. They got the father figure. A lot of them don't have father figures.
Mm-hmm.
I am the mother and father on that team. I'm the counselor. I'm the big brother. I am it's all of that. I'm the shoulder. That's who we are. I was once that kid. Now I'm that adult. Revolving cycle.
But you know, and I would agree with that in all the points that you're saying. And it's just one of the things that I've noticed here is that the family dynamics change so much.
Mhm.
It's kind of, you know, it's disheartening.
Yes.
Because when we first moved here to Ohio 6 years ago, you know, they first of all they've never really seen a lot of Polynesians before in Ohio.
Yeah.
So that, you know, I thought the population of Polynesians here in Ohio lived in one house.
Right.
But no, it was you know, some of the questions my kids would come home and say that they were being asked. It's like, where you guys from? You don't look like us, or you're different. But then it was, you know, do you live with your mom or your dad?
Right.
You know, do you guys have the same parents, or you know?
Mhm.
And it just speaks to just how different the family dynamic has become, and it's not necessarily, you know, it's not anymore just the extended family you're living with, you know, mom or your grandparents or your aunts and uncles too. It's just
Mhm.
it's dad or mom, or
Right.
it's, you know, I don't know my dad, or I don't know my mom, or
There you go.
and that,
Identity.
you know,
Yeah.
yeah. And so
Yeah.
that's where, again, that's where I think having that football family comes into play, or any other sport comes into play even more so, to be able to help that kid um, mold their self-image
That's
of
right.
who they want to be and who
That's right.
they aspire to be.
That's
And
right.
if you have a good, you know, a good staff, coaching staff, and good team, I think that definitely helps in a
Absolutely.
positive column. So I
Yeah.
just see our job now is just so much more important. It goes beyond just football. It's really about trying
Exactly.
to,
It goes beyond. That's why I was telling you, Natalie, this is huge because, you know, we're talking homelessness. Now,
yeah.
I mean, it's like a poster on the wall. No, this moves. This thing has feet. It will change on you in a flash.
Hmm.
And our kids are brutal to one another. Okay. They are. Okay. And even adults can be just as nasty and venomous
Hmm.
on the conditions of, I don't want to be a part of that. This is America. So we see it all in America. I don't care. This is not about my who you like and what you like. Can
Right.
you feed someone that needs help now? If not, move out of my way. Please do not disrupt what it is where we're going, because my journey on this earth is temporary. And please don't stifle my time here. I do not
Absolutely.
have a forever mind in a temporary situation. No, we don't have time to waste, and that's why I'm so glad to have you guys part of this and what it is, and I'm allowed to do. And when I say allowed, because I didn't ask to do this. I didn't ask to do this. All right, so I'm gonna do it well. That's the
Yeah,
code.
but it's unfortunate that we have to do this. That you have to be in this
Yes,
position. I mean,
absolutely.
thank God that you are here to be in this position to be able to shed the light on an issue that's really affecting a lot of our kids. And
Yeah,
I think if we can solve the homeless issue,
right.
um, I think that's just one less thing these kids have to really deal
That's
with.
right.
And
That's
it's
right.
in a pivotal point in their lives, and where they're still trying to figure out who they are.
Hmm.
You know, they're still coming of age, so to speak, and they're trying to figure out who they are in this world. And on top of that, now you got to figure out where you're going to stay.
That's
I mean,
right.
if you take that away, I think that really eliminates a lot of
Yeah.
behavioral issues that you will have in school. I'm not saying it'll do, you know, eliminate everything, because again, social media is an issue too.
Right.
Um, but I think it would definitely give them a sense of peace that will
Hmm.
allow them to say, now, okay, now that that's taken care of, now that I feel more secure, now I can really focus on trying to be educated, because it's hard to be educated when you're hungry. It's hard to focus on anything when you're hungry. I mean, a lot of us can't function in the morning without their morning coffee, let alone, if a kid hasn't eaten in a day or two.
Yeah.
I
Right.
mean, how do you expect that kid to focus for those 6.5 hours in school, and then on top of that, the 2.5 hours, 3 hours of practice afterwards if he
Mhm.
hasn't eaten all day?
Mhm.
And it's tough for that kid.
Right.
But it's a situation that you're right. It's a situation that we have to really address.
Well, let me say this to you. All of you guys, I've asked to come in at a certain time. You can stay as long as you want, but I don't want to take too much of your time up. But at the same time, man, we have to connect because through Claude, I know I'll have all of you. So I'm not worried about individually getting you. I got Claude. Also, I have Claude, but I want to do something, and I'll talk to you guys about it. I'm not sure if I should share it here now. I don't know, but um, Christmas is coming up. When I was in Georgia, this was a plan that we had with the NFLPA down in Georgia. We was going to. There was a county down there called Clayton County. It was one of the worst counties down there that they said with crime and other things. We were going to put 5 pros at each school and do what we did. My company called Beat the Pro. It was a fundraiser, but we was going to take those schools over to show a different way of life of giving them hope, because we were told that a lot of the kids down there, young men, only wanted to live to be 21 years old. I'm thinking, you got to be kidding me. That's how much despair and lack of hope that's going on down there. So what we was going to do is we was going to take all 11 schools and stream it and do a Beat the Pro at all 11 schools with the pros, showing how feeding the kids and all that stuff. That's what I want to get back to. And I'll talk to Claude about that. But it doesn't have to be just in Atlanta. It could be in Ohio. It could be in Maryland. It could be in wherever, all going on the same day. We're going to walk on it. We're going to talk on that. And there's a plan. And that's how you show the world how this link happens when we do it together in different places. We just exposure. Spring.
Yeah. Great. Yeah. Let me know.
Yep.
I have another question, especially for you, sir. What is your advice? I know one advice that you already mentioned is join a team because of the community. And I think Robert Brooker, who's in the audience, will agree because he's talking about the extended family as well. Other than that, what is your advice for kids who feel lost, who may or may not be homeless? But since you are in a school, what would you tell kids to do, to not do, to see and start re-believing in hope and a future? What would your advice be?
Well, my advice would be to reach out. And that's a big step for a lot of these teenagers.
Mhm.
Oh, no, I can handle this myself. No, I mean, that's not a situation where you should handle it yourself. And a
Right.
lot of these schools, like our school has a community liaison that can
Mhm.
connect kids with whatever organizations or resources that those kids need to help. I mean, we've also got a care closet that the same community advisor has available to her, where she has coats and she has backpacks and
Mhm.
any kind of supplies that they need. And we try to donate to that as much as possible. I mean, our teachers in the building are we have some of the greatest people there. They just continually donate. They donate their time. They volunteer,
Right.
um, and so that's kind of what I would advise a kid to do, is just to reach out to your school, say, hey, I kind of need help with this.
Mhm.
But that's a big step for that kid.
Yeah.
And whatever support they need, albeit mentally or emotionally or whatever it is, they should have a community liaison that would help them
That's right.
um,
That's right.
get connected with the type of resources they need. So
Right.
um, that would be my one advice for the kid, because if they can't help it, they don't know.
Mhm.
And as much as they want to be able to save every kid, some
Mhm.
schools have over 2,000 kids, and
Yeah.
if they don't quite know which kid needs which help all the time, and
Yeah.
there's only so many adults for those 2,000 kids. So you need to reach out to let them know, hey, I do need help
Right.
with these issues, and would you be able to help me? And if and for the most part, I would say 99.9% of the time,
Yes.
the adults in that building will help.
Yep.
Even if it's not part of their job description, just because they
Mhm.
want to help these kids.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
So that would be my advice. But I appreciate you guys having me on.
Oh man, thank you.
Thank you guys a lot.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you, and clearly the audience does too. We've got a lot of comments from Robert and others. Thank you so much for your time, and good luck in Ohio.
Hmm.
I'm sure you're making a huge difference there.
Agriculture state. Yep.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and to piggyback off of some of the things he said, why is there a care closet? Right? Why is there food being served after school's closed? Why? These aren't just things you just do. There are needs. There's a need for all this, and because we want to not feel this cold when we walk outside because we don't have the proper coat, right? Well, sometimes just go out there and just stand for about 2-3 minutes. Some people out there all night long. I mean, think about it. If you can't take 2 minutes, come on. The emotional part for me is deafening at times, and I try to compose that inside because you, coach, can't show your weakness. My mother always told me, never show your weakness. What are we talking about? Is emotions, being emotional or weakness? No, it's a strength. But you have to hold it together sometimes for people, right? Yeah. Well, this ain't that time. Don't hold it together. Come together.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? That's what it's about. That's what it's about.
It is. And I'm blinking again, but it is. People used to say emotions are weakness, but if you're strong enough to show your emotions, clearly it's not weakness. It's not
weakness at all. No.
Yeah.
No.
And we've been talking now for a little while. We've got lots of comments. I have to do a little disclaimer.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So give me 1 second, and I hope I'm not going to do anything like, oh yeah, of course, my picture's gone. But anyhow, here we are, just so that everybody knows, this is, of course, a telethon for the Agricultural Science Initiative. And the Los Angeles Tribune is excited to be able to host this, to present this for everybody. Just as a note, the views and opinions expressed in this telethon are those of those who are participating, are those of the program, are those of the people who stand behind the program. It is not representative of the Los Angeles Tribune or any of its employees. I need to point that out just so that everybody understands what we are doing here. And of course, because the Los Angeles Tribune is helping us stream this live to you, let's learn just for about a minute a little bit about the Los Angeles Tribune.
Welcome to the Los Angeles Tribune page. Here you will find original news programming, exclusive digital events, and shows that are directly from the community. At the Los Angeles Tribune, we believe in giving a voice to the voiceless. We are proud to be the only national brand to empower everyday people to make a difference. Since 1886, our reputation has been built on truth and responsibility. Thank you for watching and making a difference.
For general inquiries, contact today. Thank you on behalf of the Los Angeles Tribune team.
And I am the little blinking icon, and sometimes I'm not an icon at all. So everything is working out perfectly. A reminder here really quickly. Disclaimer, anything that you hear or see in this program today is not representative, of course, of, there we are, of the Los Angeles Tribune. And Dr. Kenneth Gray is back with us. Today, in this very special telethon, we are talking about the Agricultural Science Initiative. This is the second annual telethon that we're actually doing here at the Los Angeles Tribune. If you've been listening, if you've been here, and I know we've got a number of them. Robert, thank you for being here. Dr. Lara, thank you for being here. Joe, Ina, I think I'm mispronouncing your name. And all the others who have not posted, but we see you and we're grateful that you're here listening, learning, and seeing what is happening. In this instance, we're talking about the United States, but of course we know that this is not just in the United States. It's happening all over the world. However, the United States is where Dr. Gray is. The United States is where this whole initiative is located, of course. So, Dr. Gray, I'm so used to saying Dr. Kenny. But anyhow, Dr. Gray, tell us a little bit more about this initiative. You just mentioned, for example, to Blaine, that you have more ideas, that there is something that is called Beat the Pro.
Yes.
I know this is not directly related to the Agricultural Science Initiative, but it feeds into it. So tell us a little bit about that, please.
Well, like you've just met Blaine and Claude Herod. These guys are part of the NFL. I met so many people through the NFLPA, the NBA PA. I have some friends. They're having issues from the NBA trying to get in right now. From get on to the discussion, but what I realized was, like TikTok, before the social media, it was professional athletes. Everyone went absolutely stir crazy and bonkers when, Terry Bradshaw walked in there, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson. Before social media went absolutely nuts. It doesn't change. It's not going to change. So what I do is what's called a Trojan horse effect. I'm an athlete. I'm a coach. I had an opportunity to try out for that level. That's the highest level in the land. So if you make it or not, your blood, your sweat, your tears is no different. It's either you're signed as a pro or you're not. That's what makes you a pro, a signed contract. But these individuals bring something to these young kids in the school system who inspire to be or get to that level. Well, they're called celebrity pros. So when you can bring folks from the TV that you normally see to your school, it becomes an experience. And if you say, well, coach said, don't do that. Well, who's coach? But if I brought Deion Sanders in there and say, don't do that. Wow, that's Prime. I'm not going to do it because Prime said it. That's why I do Beat the Pro. That's why I bring it in, because it's a call to action. And the call to action is sometimes you need someone that can settle your butt down and get you to listen or want to listen. Because I was rebellious. Okay. I was hard-headed. I was stubborn. Okay. It took some people to calm me down to listen. My mother never had that problem. I just had to listen to her. I didn't want to, but I had to. So that's the reason why I do Beat the Pro. It's an extension of my signature fundraiser that we help the same cause. Before Gardens, before the curriculum, we were doing the same things to the schools of helping the basketball program or the football program and raising money for their programs secular. Okay, that's what we're doing. And we just use these pros. I've been doing it now for 12 years. Okay, it's my signature program. So I just expanded upon that because I met people along the way of this fundraiser.
Beautiful. And we have another one of your guests. This is a young lady. That is Miss, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing her name correctly, Shakisha Williams. So I'm going to put her in. There we are. And it's beautiful. It looks a little different in the green room. Thank you so much for being here, Miss Williams.
Thank you for having me.
Well, This is good. This is going to be the fun part. This is the part that of all things that we have done, this is the one that's more, this is worth it. This is a live update from her classroom in Charlotte, North Carolina at one of the schools that we're teaching right now. She's my head teacher, agriculture. She grew up. I'm not going to talk to her. Shakisha, let everybody know who you are.
Oh, we lost her.
Did we lose her?
She must have hit the wrong button. She was just there. She's coming back. She just
Okay.
hit something. There we are. There she is. I think you hit the wrong button. That's called technology.
Right.
Absolutely. Can't wait to hear about it.
Yep. Well, Shakisha, did you hear? We want you to tell everybody who you are, what you're doing there at Charlotte. There's a live update on our program and your background in agriculture. And she is my head teacher, guys. She is amazing. So you have the floor.
Good morning. Or shall I say good afternoon? My name is Shakisha Williams. I am the lead teacher for Dr. Gray's program. My background is I guess I'm a little more hands-on. My father is a farmer. I grew up doing this stuff. My dad actually provided a lot of the meats for the slaughterhouses here in North Carolina. So he has a pretty big farm. So I actually did this stuff firsthand growing up, so I know how important it is. For me, to incorporate it into schools is the smartest thing ever. One, because we don't have the knowledge. The knowledge is not there. It's not being incorporated into the school systems of how important it is. Two, without agriculture, we can't sustain a planet. The planet cannot sustain itself without agriculture. So it's a very big part of everything that's going on around us. I teach my kids right now. We've actually into like our 9th week now. So right now we're into the process of, we're actually past our harvest. We talked about the harvest season, what the harvest season means for us. Right now we're into the transportation part of it, of how we actually get the food outsourced to schools and to other places from our gardens. So we're into the storage portion of it now, as far as transportation and how we cultivate it out. We did start from scratch, which was the beginning, which was soil. Soil is the beginning. My kids do know that there are different types of soil, because, even with adults, most people just think if you go outside and just pop a seed in the ground, it's going to grow. It's not. The soil has to be right. So it's a lot of things that factor into us getting these good foods as well. So basically we did start with the plant life cycle, which is the first beginning stages of the agriculture. Like I said, it goes with the soil. Then we moved to step 2, which was the seeds. My kids can tell you how to grow a plant from start to finish with their eyes closed. They are confident about it. They know. It's just amazing, because the things that I teach them in school, they then incorporate and go home and teach them to their parents and stuff at home, because a lot of us don't know. Like I said, a lot of us don't know. We just don't know. And the fact that we don't know is what our hindrance is for me. So the more we know, the more we grow. It's really true. And so that's what we're trying to push out with this agriculture program as far as the schools. We just want them to be able to know that, hey, there is a way to sustain yourself and to grow healthy foods and to be healthy, because this is the way it's always been done. Like, their technology didn't do it for us. It's going to be up to us again in the end, as far as us being here and having foods and stuff to last us and sustain us. Now, I do know that we're going through a crisis right now with food shortages. So this would be a good area for us to step up and to teach our kids how to cultivate and grow on our lands. Because for me, it's like putting back into the community. Once we put it out, even if people not knowing as much as they do know now, it's like we're going to have shortages. But if I can teach one kid to plant a seed, then that helps me with the future as far as our problem, as far as a solution, actually. So we're all about creating solutions and agriculture. And I think agriculture and put it into schools is a big part. So my kids are excited. I'm excited, actually. We have been growing inside of our classrooms as far as the planting process. They do understand how to transplant, which is taking it from the smaller portion, from the smaller pot to the bigger pot. So they know the steps. And again, I think it's really great what we're doing because it's really needed. It's really important as far as us sustaining for the future anyways. So that's where me and my kids are so far. We're actually in the growing process. We're hoping that in the spring, we get to break land outside, break the soil outside, and actually start growing outside. The plan is to have a garden at each school to where we could cut back on some of the hunger issues that we have. And again, it's actually teaching a craft, something that we need. So that's pretty much where we are so far as with the kids.
Yeah, and this is the thing we want everyone to know is this, these kids are going to have a skill for their life for the rest of their lives. This is not going to be something where they were football players and they can, you're going to learn to eat, and you have to eat, and you can grow. You can start your own company, farmers market, if you do it right. I was talking to someone about a kid who's out on the street selling drugs. I said, man, if you sold 500 watermelons, not just watermelons, at $20, you would make $10,000. He said, what? Mm-hmm. I said, the 500, do the math. But what if you sold a tomato with it? What if you sold squash with it, cucumbers, and all these other, you would make even more money. He said, I didn't think about it like that. I said, because they don't want you to think like that. They don't want you to use stuff when they want you to do it for them. Well, that's America. That's big corporations. Look, I'm not worried about what people will say about this process. This is God's work. You got a problem with me, you got a problem with God. Period. Full stop. As they would say that young people, period, poo. Right? So I have no worries here. But if I can leave the legacy with you, Miss Williams, and the teacher and the kids that you're teaching from K, can you imagine them growing up in 11 years from now at 18 as a 12-year-old, as a 12th grade? You see what you're doing with them?
Well, the majority of my kids now came in not even knowing what agriculture was. They did not know that we needed our trees and our grass and our plants to sustain. That's how we clean our air. They did not know this, but they know it now, down to the fact to where half of my classes now, I think except like maybe 3 or 4 students out of the class actually want to be farmers. They actually want to go into it and keep doing it. And so I felt like if we planted the seeds early, they will stay with them. You plant a seed that's going to grow. So it's going to grow with that child, and you get to see what that child gets to grow into and how they can actually make some changes for us. Because like I said, after us, who's going to be there after us? Like after my generation, who's going to be there? Because from this point on, these kids don't know. They don't know. So
and Ms. Williams, we have our meetings every Friday, guys. I make sure that my teachers, we are engaged, and we have another young lady named Dana Rodriguez that's teaching at another school. Well, 2 weeks ago, Ms. Williams made it clear to me, well, the FDA signed off to put plastic in our food system. Mm-hmm. Plastic. Do you understand what we're saying, people out there? So if you can't get rid of these chemicals, do I have to say more?
Yes, because they went from using the byproducts from the plants. You know how we used to use our plants to make our plant foods and stuff. We used to make, vegan foods. And we used to use the excess, like the stems and stuff that we don't use from the plants. We use those for actually make our byproducts from plants and make other things. Well, instead of using that, they're saying that we don't have enough of that. So we have to incorporate plastics in here. And they did find a doctor that signed off that says that it was going to be okay, that our bodies could adjust. Okay, our bodies are adjusting, but it's still not healthy. Right. And it's still not a solution to the problem. Basically, you're adding on more problems on top of problems that we already have. Right. So for me, it was, I'm just not happy with it. This is going to be the way. Us growing our own foods is going to be the way. Now, I did hear too the other day where China has this big seed bank. They own the biggest seed bank in the world, and they're harvesting seeds because they're saying it's going to be a seed shortage. And so it's going to get kind of bad out here. So, I mean, and most foods, most of our fruits and veggies, they actually have a seed so they will reproduce themselves. So if we can just get in and just put back into the mindset of, hey, instead of throwing that seed away, that apple core away, we can take those seeds and put them back into the soil, and therefore we have another tree to replace what we just took. So I teach my kids is that what our harvest, I tell them that with our harvest, this is how we harvest. We harvest by, we go ahead, we're going to take our crops out, we're going to cut them down, we're going to bring them in, which was after we cut them down, we're going to bring them in, we wash them, we sustain them out to our customers or wherever. And after that, we have to go back and replant them. That's our harvest session. Our harvest session is we cut it down, we bring it in, and then we replant it. And so that they know part of that process is after we go out there and we have to go back and replant. So that's in their heads now, versus we're just taking and taking.
Right.
And if I may ask a question, Ms. Williams, because I love your enthusiasm. You're clearly, I mean, you're my kind of teacher. So thank you for what you do. It's very clear how you're explaining the agricultural part and the impact that you're making. We were talking earlier also a little bit about the mental health.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned that your kids, and that's what we do as teachers, right? They're all our kids, regardless of what the age is.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I'm a teacher, so I know what you're saying. So how do you, have you seen a change in their behavior? You know, we call it mental health, but we know that a lot of kids are easily diagnosed with ADHD and all sorts of stuff. When they do hands-on, like you're doing with them, it usually changes. So for the parents who may not care about agriculture, but care about their kids, and hopefully it goes together. What have you seen? What kind of changes have you seen in the kids?
So far, what I can notice is that when they first came in, a lot of them were like, they weren't really talkative. They didn't want to get up in front of the class and explain processes. Now, when I walk in my classroom, my kids' hands go like this. I can ask a question and every hand in that classroom will go like this. So they're excited. I'm excited too. And not only that, they're passing it on to their teachers. Now, I do have some special needs students in some of my classes. And with me, I never have to have any of my students removed. They're all present for class because they love agriculture. So, and that's the thing. They love it. So, and I'm glad. But when I come in, they tell me, it's agriculture time. Everybody will get in their places. So I never have to remove anybody. So it's an excitement versus where, oh my God. Now, some of my teachers, when they do come in, they'll be like, oh my God, it's time for that. They're like, oh no, they don't want to learn. But for agriculture, like you said, it's hands-on, it's fun. They get to see the actual plant grow out of that dirt where they did not get to see these things before. So they get to see these things. They actually get to take part into the watering process. So actually just putting them into action, it makes a big difference. So yes, it's a lot of improvement. Before, when I first came in, it would be like, they would just shout out answers. I would ask a question and any kind of answer would come out. I was like, do you guys know what agriculture is? And they was like, it's Beyonce. This is my first answers. I heard a roller coaster. And then somebody was like, it's a football player. And I was like, so that was the first day. So now they can break agriculture down to the soil, all the way down to the soil, so they know. So now it teaches them how to actually use their heads to think about something before they want to give out their answer, because they know the process. We just got to think about the process and how we're going to get there before we say, Beyonce is agriculture. No, we need to. So it helps them think, and it gives them a chance to be independent people, and say, hey, I can do this and I did that. Hey, Mom, look what I did. So it promotes them. It does. It promotes them a lot.
Oh, absolutely. And you just got very excited too. And I love that. The answer sometimes is like, where did this come from? But okay, I can use it. And I know you mentioned that a couple of the teachers may not get that enthusiasm. From what I've seen, though, if the kids have this kind of success experience, or yes, I can experience in one class, it tends to slowly but surely transfer into other classes. I never was one for math, right? But when the teacher was good and they gave us hands-on examples, it was like, okay, I can use that for this, or history. Now, I'm a history teacher, so I'm not just talking about dates. No, I'm talking about the people and how they had their hands in the dirt, all of those. Can you hear a little bit about that as well, that the enthusiasm or the willingness does transfer?
It does, because when I come into my classrooms now, some of my teachers have plants in their classrooms already because, they're just natural growers. So when I come in, it's like, hey, Miss Williams, my kids got on me today because I didn't water my plants. My plants looking a little wilted over there. So they will remind them, hey, Miss such and such, you didn't water your plants this week. Like, they be on it. So, or they'll be like, hey, Miss Williams, well, we didn't get to do our weed. We didn't do our weeding this time because we have weeds are growing. And you said if we cut them, they're going to grow back. So they know that if they have to pull these weeds out by the roots to keep them from killing their plants. So they know all this stuff. So yes. And it's really exciting because, as I said, they'll go home. I have some pictures of some of my kids have actually brought pictures back from home where they have actually went out with their parents and have done they have created pallet gardens in their backyard. So now they're doing pallet gardens. So it have went from me to the student, and now it's home. It's been incorporated into home. So yes, I'm excited as far as what they learn. They're excited enough to go back and tell somebody else, and that's my thing.
Right.
And I love it because it brings in the family.
It
like
does.
when Dr. Gray and I, we often talk, and he's shared your initiative with me and the amazing work that you're doing. And we always talk about the holistic approach, right? You teach the kid, but then the kid goes, tells another kid, and then they go home and tell their parents. And then the grandparents say, yeah, that's how we grew up. And all of a sudden you've got this snowball
This
effect.
whole thing.
No longer, yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for doing that.
You're very welcome.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Gray, I'm going to let you take it.
Well, I again, it's a joy just listening to her speak because, you know, she comes from it. You know, it's like me speaking coaching or football or you know, I do more than that. I just know that these are very popular things where it'll capture someone's attention. You know, I love to learn. I've always loved to learn. I've always loved to learn new things from other people. I love people, but I hate crowds. There's a thing about me where if it's my event, I'm on time. If it's somebody else's event, I'll show up, but I'm not going to tell you when I'm going to show up, but I'll be there, right? And that's just me. But when we got the okay to move forward for this, I needed a closer because everything that I did over the last 6 years made sense. But when a lady asked me, can you do a demo of the class? And I said, sure. I was like, well, I need me. So when I talked to Miss Shakisha, it was a lot because I said, I'm not doing a video. I'm sending you to her live in her classroom. And it's sold right there. That's what you need to see. You can't talk about it. You have to be about it. And she is a be about it teacher. And her classroom runs smoothly. And she owns that class. So I'm indebted to her. I'm indebted to Ms. Rodriguez, but I'm also, you know, with Movement School taking the opportunity to even looking at the need and saying we need this. That's what it is. Mm-hmm. Look at what your resources are, what your needs are, and you know we're out here, and we are looking to take this across the land. This is not just a North Carolina thing because, you know, we have kids out there that want to learn just like that in North Carolina, Maryland, and even in Germany.
Well, we all have to eat. So, and the thing is eating healthy these days because that's what's not being promoted. Mm-hmm. So for me, I think it's getting back to the healthy eating. This is where we need to be. And my kids even know too that we need agriculture for our medicines. They know that some of our medicines are provided by from our plants and animals. So they know all this stuff now. So when they go home, they just be talking. And sometimes they'll come back to me with stuff before I even know it. They'll be like, Mr. Williams, did you see on the news where they're doing this to our foods? And I'll have to go and research it. And then I'll come back and say, oh my God, you guys are right. So, you know, I'm excited that they're actually thinking ahead of me. So.
Right. So when you think about, and this is crazy. When we grew up in America, we talk about cotton.
They know nothing about it.
Right. And what happens is there are other plants that's even better than cotton out there.
There's wheat. We have a lot of things.
A lot of things.
There's barley. We have a lot of things.
And if you understand it and you knew it, you had the knowledge, you could do anything with it. You know, and a lot of times I think, you know, I don't want to jump off the conversation, but on podcast shows that I've done, illiteracy, just not letting people be smart enough to know what's going on out there. People are making a lot of money off of kids and people around the world that can't read, don't know. Do what I tell you to do. It's not how it's supposed to be. And that's what we're doing in the classroom. We're giving them a choice. We are giving these kids a choice somewhere down the line, along with world history, science, mathematics, all
Yeah.
that, sports. We're adding another avenue for them to decide on. But guess what? All those things you do got to come back through agriculture.
It does. It all ties into agriculture.
It all comes
I
back.
showed them today. I had actually went over the weekend. It was my birthday, so I went out of town, and I got to see some of the countryside because I went to the mountains. And I actually got out there and I got with one of these farm owners, and he actually let me take up a cotton plant from his field to bring back to show my kids.
Right.
And when I got back, and I was like, I've been showing my classes this morning, and I was like, do you guys know what this is? And they was like, no, what is that? My kids told me it was a snow tree.
It's snow tree.
It's a snow tree. My first, second, and third grade told me it was snow trees. And I was like, no. And then my one kindergartner was like, is it a cotton candy tree? And I was like, no, it's not a cotton candy tree. I was like, but it is cotton. I said it's a cotton tree. So I had to take them back to the history of where their clothes come from, which they didn't even know that it grows on a tree. They think that this stuff is just here. Like it's just here. We just here. So it's now I have to explain them to the process. So.
And Miss Williams and Natalie, let me tell you something. I'm 57 years old, and the first time I saw a cotton field was 4 years ago, riding through Raleigh, North Carolina. And I looked out there. It was a summer day, and I said, "Well, why is the grass so white, like it's snow out there?" I had to stop my car, take a picture of it, and said, "Oh my God! All my years of studying, I was told about cotton, but I never saw it."
And that's how my kids are. That's why when I brought that in, like I do little stuff for them like that. Like even because for me, agriculture is more than just growing. It's I mean, we have to cultivate our animals. We have to take care of our earth. Like it's a lot that goes into agriculture. It's not just the growing process. It also has, like I tell my kids, like even down to the bugs and the worms. Everybody here on earth has a job. We all have a job to sustain this earth. So right now we're looking at a Prometheus moth because it starts out as a caterpillar. And so I found it in my yard. I have a tree in my yard. They just out there. So I brought some in. And so now they're excited about the process of the cocooning portion because, without these moths, it's how we pollinate our trees and stuff to keep our trees going. So everything is a process with agriculture. So I've been teaching them a lot of stuff, but I did get that plant for them and they were just like amazed. I actually let them touch it and feel it. My one kid tried to lick it. He was like, does it taste like cotton candy? I was like, no, it doesn't taste like cotton candy, but this is where the concept comes from. Now, here is my plant.
Ooh.
They had never seen this. So, and they got to feel it and touch it, and I showed it to them and the seeds and stuff on the inside of it. So they were like going crazy right now because they get to see a snow tree that they thought this was a snow tree, but now they know it's cotton and it's what their clothes and their book bags, everything comes from. So they really don't know.
And there's another, and I don't want to. This is adult thing out here, but there's another plant out there I'm learning about. Just learned about 2 years ago, called hemp. I did not know hemp was even
medicine.
Medicine, everything. And I had no idea the power of that plant. Now, in Maryland, guys, we just passed a law where marijuana is legal in here now. So I'm allowed to talk about a form of marijuana, hemp, but the extraction of the marijuana plant. That is what we need to understand, guys, that some of these things are not harmful to us. They can help us. And that's what education is about.
Right.
So, hey, go ahead,
Natalie. I got one more question for you. And I so appreciate your time, Ms. Williams.
No problem.
It's such a joy to listen to you and to see your excitement. But most of all, I'm so grateful for what you're doing because I was teaching college in the U.S. and I was amazed at what the kids didn't know and teaching them how to think again. And that's what you're bringing to the classroom. The final question for me, and then, Kenny can see it and say it wherever he wants. What is your biggest hope for not just your kids, but for all the kids in the United States and possibly the world? What's your biggest hope and what's your biggest tip for them?
Well, like I tell my kids now, my biggest hope for everybody is that we can take this information, because the world that we live in is a really beautiful place. It's a really beautiful place. And if we can just do our jobs, which is what we're here for, is just to sustain this beautiful place, then it will make such a our life so much it will make it so much easier. I also tell my kids that my hope is that we can, each one will teach one, and it will keep going on. Because like I said, if agriculture stops, we're going to be in a world of trouble. We are. We cannot be here on this planet without it. And everything and everybody is important. And this is what I teach my kids. This is our saying. I come into my classroom and I ask my children, I'm like, what is this class about? And they'll tell me agriculture. And I'll say, well, what is agriculture? And they'll say everything and everybody. And I'll say, so everything means growing good what? And they'll say crops. They'll say raising healthy animals, and they'll say taking care of our planet. That's their definition for agriculture. If they can just take that, stick by that definition, then I think that, and they teach it to the next person and to the next person, and actually really do the process, just keep doing the process, then I think we'll be okay. For me, I just hope that we can take this information and this opportunity and grow from it versus being set back how we are. We as a nation, we actually will progress so far. And then once we get so far, we'll backtrack like 100 miles. And that's what I don't want it to do. I want it to actually just keep growing and to keep growing and keep growing and then pass it along to other nations. Because like I said, we all have to eat, but we're not eating healthy. And that's my thing. I think we'll be a better people as far as consciousness, as far as being able to think and be able to be the best person that we can be if we all just ate better. And we do not. We do not. So for me, I just want to be pushed worldwide that, hey, we can do this. We have been sustaining ourselves. We do not have to actually have all this excess, extra nonsense to try to be here and live. Like if this world was not prepared for what it was taking on, which is us, and it says for us to be fruitful and multiply. So I'm pretty sure that when we were put here, this earth was prepared for us to multiply. Mm-hmm. We're not prepared though. So I feel like if we go back to what we know, back to the beginning, we'll be okay. So for me, I just want us to push the agenda to where, hey, this is something that we do need. We can still progress in technology and wherever else, but here is the basics of it, and we still have to stay focused here. So the focus would be agriculture. I wish we could stay around agriculture, just properly based around growing agriculture and making it better. Because I think that if we did that, it would tie into a lot of all the excess, everything else. So I just wanted to push it forward. Pay it forward, grow, grow, grow. That's what I want.
Right. Well, I could not said that any better because the facts are what they are. We are out of order. Whether we've had this conversation for many years. I've listened to my grandmother and my grandmother's mother talk about these things and God and all. Look, we're out of order. Let's just stop right there. If we ever get this thing right about my brother's keeper, period, we can do wonderful things. And it doesn't cost you your money because we all are going to leave this earth one day. You can't take it with you.
Yeah, we just got a little bit of time.
And I could tell you a story. Now, I'm a personal trainer, so I meet a lot of people over the last 25 years. And I met this one guy, this is no lie, owned a marina here in Maryland. Right down there in Annapolis, Maryland, a huge rich man. He came into my office one day and he said, and I said, sir, why are you so grumpy? He said, my wife wants me to come to the gym. I said, well, that's so bad. He said, no, I'm just trying to figure out how I can die and take my money with me. And I'm thinking, sir, you can't be, you can't be serious. He said, I'm serious. So I'm thinking, well, let's get this, let's go through assessments and all that. And at the end of it, he was still adamant about taking his money with him. And I said, sir, good luck with that, because I've not seen it done yet, but good luck with it. And then the sad part about it was 5 years later, I look in the obituary, I said, that's that guy. He passed on. I said, I wonder if he learned how to take his money with him. Guys, stop it. We're out of order. Mm-hmm. You said it, Ms. Williams. We are here to procreate. It was ordained for us to procreate. And you had a world of food and agriculture was here before any man was created or born. Now that should tell you something.
It's part of the process, actually.
Part of the process. So if we can now take that concept and put it into 131,000 schools, we'll bring our bees back. Wow, right here right here in Baltimore, Under Armour. Everybody know who they are. You think about shoes and shirts and all that. Under Armour. They have a farm. They have a community garden, and guess what's on that garden? Bee farms. They have bees sitting right there on them. Why? Because they know the connection between the farm and the plants and the bees. It's like you said, Ms. Williams. Everybody has a job to do.
Everybody has a job. And this is my thing I just found out yesterday, too. I did not know that the tobacco industry is the top producers of most of our food. I did not know that. And that's totally wrong. So therefore, the agenda here is totally messed up. So I need for us to get back into the right hands, into the right process. It's all about the dollar right now. And I'm above the dollar. I want our kids eating healthy and I want us to live, period.
Well,
that's just it. Just let us live.
Listen, Ms. Williams, and this I don't want to get off topic, but it all applies. Michael Jordan invests in the prison system. It's documented. Steel sharpens steel. It's called investments. Okay, so it's not unusual to think that the tobacco company is in food. It's about what resources you have to make more money. Okay, let's really be about what we're talking about. It's about money here. All right, so.
Well, since we're talking about money, don't you need money to do what you want to do?
We do.
Well,
right?
Yes, we do. And
so we do need money. I just want to point out that this is also, I mean, we're providing a lot of really important information.
Yes.
But I do want to point out that even though it's not about money, because it's really about the legacy, the long term, and helping the kids eat healthy, think critically again, and apply their innate talents and then share them with their families. That's what it's about. But in order to do that in the world we currently live in, you do need some money.
You have to have that money.
So what do you, Ms. Williams, need money for when it comes to this initiative? What is your need for money?
Our need is like basically supplies. Our supply is our biggest issue. Like right now, and then actually the transportation. Actually getting the supplies here. So we order stuff out pretty much. We order it out, and then when it comes in for like our transplanting season, when it comes times for us to put our pots or our plants from one pot into another pot, because we have to do this process in order for them to grow because we're not outside yet. So since we're inside, we're needing stuff like our pots, like our transplanting pots. We have to change the sizes of those pots. Right now, I'm waiting on the order of pots. Now I have some plants that are actually dying because we're actually just waiting on the pots. So I did tell some of my teachers today, I was like, I'm just going to take it a step further. And what I'll do is that I'll just go to Walmart today and try to find some little pots, some little styrofoam pots, something that we can actually use just so that our plants are not just dying. But we put in 4 months of work so far. So it's really bad to where it is now we're 4 months in. We have plants that are growing. So now we're at a certain process in the process, and we can't move past because we don't have our materials.
Right.
And that's my biggest thing. It's just making sure that we have the materials that we need to actually move forward. And that's the biggest thing. So we do need the money for the materials. We do, desperately.
Wonderful. And I'm going to ask you, Ms. Williams, later on if you can put just a list in the description of what you need, whether people then want to contribute money or whether they just want to send you, styrofoam cups or whatever you need, maybe bags of dirt. I don't know.
Yes, we need the soil too.
Yes, or you might need paper and pens to write so that the kids can do that. Just put it in the description here on the Los Angeles Tribune page when you have a chance so that people know if they're worried about the money, because we've just bad-mouthed the money, okay, not really well, but they can contribute in other ways, and that's a lot of time also, a telethon and a fundraiser, of course. And Dr. Gray, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, we just want to make sure that the money goes to a worthy cause. It's not something that you're going to feel bad about. Every little bit helps. Doing nothing changes nothing, and that's just the bottom line. Natalie, you've asked me for probably 5-6 years, Kenny, what do you need? I told you I don't know. Even when I knew what I needed, I wasn't in a place to ask for it because that's not my job. That's not what I'm good at. I'm good at building things. Everything you see right now, I built. I was allowed to build it up to say, do you want to be a part of this? So this is the very first time in the first month that I'm actually asking for, really truly asking. Last year, you know how that was. People was, doing a lot of things for me. I was like, hey guys, that's great. But we have to ask now. This is just, once we sign the contract to do what Ms. Williams is doing down there right now, it has opened up a floodgate of need, material, money, you name it, time, volunteerism, all that. We need it. And I have sponsors that's coming on board now. It's what it is to be a part of it. So I'm going to put all the information out for how to donate money, volunteerism, all that. We don't want to kill your address. We want to send it to the school address. Whole trucks of stuff on the school. Don't put any personal stuff out there. But that's really what it is. So we're going to get to that point. We will talk about how you can give. Well, it's what we need, and this is not just today. This is starting now. It's like food every day. Give every day. This is not about yesterday or tomorrow, next week. This is about when you can. If it's 6 months from now, great. If it's 6 hours from now, great. 6 years from now, great. This is not going to stop with me or without me because the legacy will continue. Okay? That's how. That's
and
what
we're going to need a good seed bank too. I was just sitting here thinking about it. We're going to need a good seed bank because we're going to have to get these seeds from somewhere. So we're going to need a good seed bank too.
Sure.
And Dr. Gray is taking notes.
Yes.
And I think it is important to understand for people that even though we're saying, we need money to clear the acreage from the SSELC, we also need money for the day-to-day operations and the time. And, if you're going to Walmart, maybe they'll give you as a donation what you need. Maybe if we go to Home Depot or to Lowe's, if we present it right, because this does have an impact also going back to the money side
on their side as well.
Okay.
This is a big circle. Agriculture is a giant circle. Everybody's hands is in this pot. We all have to be a part of agriculture. And that was my thing, is that we all can get incorporated. It brings us together, actually. Agriculture is a unity thing, and I love it because of that. Because without one person, you can't do agriculture. Without that person, you can't have agriculture. So we all have to have our hands in this pot in order for it to work. So.
Yep. And I'm telling you, the amount of individuals who are supporting this today, I have already reached out to so many people, whether they're on or not. And it's just about what you can do when you can do it. And like I said, we are in this together, but you cannot do it alone. And that's why I'm glad that Natalie, you again, just your time here today to allow everyone to hear about this program and to hear from a teacher. And we can't bring the kids on for reasons for legal. We don't.
I would love for Miss Natalie to just to come and give us a visit, like just to come and sit in one of our classrooms and just so she could actually see how our kids do.
Oh,
I would
absolutely.
love that.
Sooner or later, I'll be down there. It's a little bit of a trip right now, but yes, I will definitely be there. Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So
lots to do.
Yeah. So we just we are going to expand this thing. Whether the work is in. The main thing is I'm hiring more people to come in to do things that I'm not able to do for time reasons. When I make a phone call to a school and I explain what's going on, they want to know, hey, can you send me more? Can you send me more? And then it's on them to adopt or want to implement it, and it's like I said, it's a huge need. It's a huge initiative, and it takes huge time and planning to get something like this to really run smoothly, So to have my teachers, I haven't been to North Carolina but once, and I have a rule that I've had with my coaching. When a principal hired me to do the job, what are you at my field for? You don't need to be at my field. If I'm not doing my job, I know why you're here. But if you're not doing yours, I'm gonna be in your office. So to come down once to see the program run, well, because I have Shakisha running it for me down there, and she's doing a remarkable job. So we are going to expand this, not just in the classroom. We're going to be going online with our classes as well. We're going to be doing online classes where the whole world will be a part of this agriculture program. And
I'm going to interject. I'm going to rudely interrupt you right now, Dr. Gray, because we have another guest, and I think that our next guest might be a little on the run. So I want to get him in. So let's welcome Alexander Lewis.
Oh, yes.
Who is sort of also driving, which I'm not going to admit he's doing.
Yeah.
But
I'm pulling in right now to my house.
Dr. Gray, thank you so much, Alexander Lewis, for being here. I'm going to leave it to Dr. Gray to.
Yeah. Well, look, let me tell you, Claude, I'm only going to throw one name out, Claude Harrod. That's it. Because he's the glue to all you guys being here today on the celebrity side with the NFL, and working with him. He said, Coach, I got you. And when he says that, that's it. So thank you for being here. And I just want to talk to you about, any experiences that you may have or in your family or schools or what you've seen in the community, or just people telling you about homelessness, kids who can't eat, hunger, displaced. So, let everybody know who you are, and welcome to our telethon.
Oh, I really appreciate it. My name is Alex Lewis. I was invited here by Claude Harriet. He was a teammate of mine for almost 3 to 4 years, and so far a lifelong friend. And he invited me here. And as far as just, homelessness and so forth, a lot of the things that I've seen and people that have helped have been through the church, doing a lot of drives and coat drives and so forth. But it's something that's prevalent within our community. Things that need to be basically taken care of.
Yeah, and when you're talking about, and you played in the National Football League, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
And what happens is, and everyone thinks that because you're a pro, you got it all made. Everything is, you whatever, where you came from. A lot of people don't know stories of athletes. Because
exactly.
And talk to us about that. I mean, just
there's always a struggle behind the story. I mean, mine was different. I mean, I came from a household where, honestly, man, I lived on a couch from 7th grade all the way up until high school. Yeah. I didn't have a bed, but at the same time, even with me living like that, I still felt grateful. I felt fortunate to have a roof over my head, and I would never take back that experience, because now in my life, man, I'm appreciative for everything, for having a roof over my head. I don't take it for granted. So I remember going to college, and where everybody else was complaining about their beds, man, I was like, man, I slept on a couch for almost 6 years of my life. So I mean, there. Obviously, with that pushed me to say I never want to go back. Never want to go back.
Right.
So, with me, that has helped me. And there's so many other stories about other people that have gone through. But of course, there's always a test. There's a behind the ceremony, there's a test that you go through. So that was me in my life as far as my living situation. I came from a single parent background. My mother at the time was the one raising me, and at one point I lived with my father. So that environment, forged me and made me grow up a lot faster than a normal youngster.
Right. Well, let me say, as a coach, we know what you just said. We saw it. We see it all the time in the school system, and I've not. I never dealt with the middle or the elementary. It was always high school for me. And you know,
Okay.
when the big brothers had to run home and get the little brothers, and so that's a cycle. A lot of the
Yeah.
elementary and the middle school are looking up, where the high school is looking out. And it's not just, you know, going out and thinking, well, because I'm out of high school, I'm fine. No, Jameis Winston, when he, you know, had the crab legs situation down at Florida State, he was hungry.
Yeah, exactly.
He was hungry.
Yep.
And what happens is, you know, when you're hungry, you do desperate things.
Exactly.
You know?
Yep.
And we cannot not shed light on the facts of it's called behavior.
Yeah.
Some of these kids are good kids, but they do bad things sometimes because they're put in a situation called survival. And it goes back to what Miss Williams said. We're out of order. We are.
Yeah.
But because I didn't have the amenities of life as a kid, I was eating every day. I didn't care. So what did I need to do? Find an extra blanket. Right?
Yeah.
Find an extra blanket. Put on an extra pair of pants or 2 pair of socks and wait till the morning. Or, you know, you sleep and then you get up and eat and then you run around all day in the snow. Come on, man.
Exactly.
That's life. So what people don't realize is it's not about your big cars and your money and your status. It's not about that. When I met some of the guys in Atlanta for NFLPA, a good guy, vice president named Walt Harris. Okay, he called me. We talked. He said, Kenny, we have a problem inside the NFL. The richest pros can't stand the rich pros, and the rich pros can't stand the poor pros. I said, what are you talking about? They're all pros. Right? Who really cares about who have that same status? So what happens is, I'm saying is, we're all human beings. We have to eat. If we put that there first, it doesn't matter how you live your life afterwards. Okay.
I agree with you. I agree. And just like what you said, it's crazy because there was someone that I know, a Hall of Famer. She went to a Division I school. I don't want to say her name, but we were actually talking about this year. She said after a track meet, she was hungry. She came home. Her roommates asked.
Oh, did he drop?
Well, he dropped for a second. I'm sure he's going to come back. There he is. Okay, good. He's back.
So a friend of mine who was a collegiate athlete, and, you know, being a collegiate athlete, you get a certain stipend during the semester. Her stipend was up, and it was after a track meet. She was going to the store, and she basically tried to steal some meat. But the only thing was, she put it in her coat. She got caught. Now, she's an All-American. Later on was actually going towards the Olympics. But she was placed in a situation where she was hungry. And she decided to make a decision. Probably wasn't the best decision. But, of course, young. So you're young, make this decision. It's not the right one. Of course, you know, luckily for her, she paid a consequence where she had to work it off, where she got caught. But just think about how many kids that are placed in that situation, you know, that parents aren't in the home, where they got to do what they got to do. You know, as they say, term, to get out of mud. You know what I mean? So you never know. That's why I try to judge people based off of the things that they do, because you never know what situation they may be in, the mindset, what they're going through. You know, because that's something. You know, I'm going to say everybody came out of struggle, but I know how it is to come out of this struggle. I know how it is not to have to deal with it. You know, I know how that feel is on hope. You know, so every situation is different. You know, every situation. I even talk to my own kids. My kids are like, Dad, I want to go to a Brazilian steakhouse. I'm like, boy, y'all. I'm like, y'all don't know how it is to struggle. You know, but at the same time, I wouldn't take that struggle away because it forged me into who I was. You know, forged me into who I was. You know?
Right. Well, you know, we appreciate your time and what I tell Claude. You know, when you reach out to folks for a common cause, man, it's a very good conversation. Yeah. It's an easy, complicated conversation. And then, and your stories about the Olympic athlete. I right here at University of Maryland, the young man got in trouble because he was hungry. based off that stipend and based off the requirements, he could eat a bagel. He did, but he wanted some cream cheese. Well, it wasn't part of the requirement of him eating. So he got the cream cheese and he was thrown off the soccer team. See, when things control you, okay, we don't get it. Okay, and there are people who control the food sources out here in America or in the countries. No, we can't do that. We got to let these kids, teach these kids how to grow their own food, survival first, and then let them enhance themselves, doctors, lawyers, scientists, astronauts. Who cares after that? But if you don't sustain them through food, come on, we got to eat. It has to be a better way, and I don't mind helping anybody out if I have it, but we got to do a better job as the stewards of this earth. We got to do a better job.
Wisconsin, I'll tell you, Unity was not I said sometimes it only just one.
Right.
Young man, he was only 8 years old at school, and he mentoring him. Later on, now he's older. He's opened up his own store in Wisconsin, and he's helping out others. So you never know who you might touch with
That's
that
right.
next person that might touch a bunch of other people.
That's right.
So yeah, man, I really appreciate this time. Thank you for allowing me to come on here.
Thank you. Yeah.
And man, I pray you guys are all successful. All right.
Thank you very much. It's success. Success is in happiness. Is how I measure my success. How happy I am. And I'm very happy today.
I got
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
So, Dr. Gray, how do you measure it when you're not happy then?
When I'm not happy, I try. I don't give up. I keep moving.
I'm not gonna let you use that word because my mom told me we weren't allowed to use that word because a try is a beseech to failure. So either you're gonna do it or you're not.
Okay, well I don't change my I don't change. See Natalie, I
So
told you.
You're gonna do.
If it doesn't enhance me,
You're going to do.
If it doesn't enhance me, I'm not doing it. But if it does, I'll change. I'm okay to change. I can do that.
That's right.
Make it work. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you so
All right,
much.
you guys take it easy.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah,
And I love what you just said, Miss Williams, because I've been thinking about getting on Dr. Gray's case for a long time when he uses the try.
Mm-hmm. Either you're gonna do it or you're not. We're not trying. We are doing here. We're all about doing here.
Yeah, I once was with a Catholic priest, and he said he gave me the example of trying. So he said, try to lift that flower vase.
Mm-hmm.
I went over there, and then he said, no, stop. You're already lifting it.
Mm-hmm.
Trying doesn't mean you're touching it and lifting it. Trying is the way to there. So no, Dr. Gray, you're actually doing more than trying.
You're doing.
Doing it. I'm hey, listen, I don't do it alone though, because one thing I've always stayed away from. I love the power of one. I love what Mr. Lewis said. I love the power of one, but I don't like doing it without others along. I love team concepts. I love doing it with other people, because I don't know. I just don't like individual sports. I don't.
Well, sometimes we have to start alone to bring others along, because sometimes if others don't see us doing, nobody else is doing either.
Yes. Okay. All right. And, we are one of these, we're a type of people that we're either followers or we're doers. That's what I know that through sports. What I try to tell my athletes is don't follow anything. Just do your job. Once you do your job, either you're doing it better than the next person or not. Let me be the judge on who is doing what I need done. I've had guys so fast they run past the play. I'm thinking, that's not what I want. That's not what I need. I need you to stop and make a play, not run past the play. But they were fast. So it's about how we teach them to get there too. And we have to be great teachers like yourself, Miss Williams. We have to be great leaders, doers, no more triers, doers. Coach Gray, Dr. Gray is now a
A
doer.
fast learner. That's right. He is a fast learner.
Hey, Daddy, it took you this long to get me. It took you that long to get me to start doing things.
Listen, if I can teach my kids, I can teach Dr. Graham.
There you go. Oh, man, that's a hard
There
one
you
there.
go. There you go.
Yep.
Now, that's what it's all about. And, the power of one is about, like Miss Williams said, it's about starting it.
Mhm.
And anybody who contributes today in whatever shape or form, whether it is, one flower pot or whatever, it's the power of one. We can all
Mhm.
make a difference. And then if we combine the power of one, then
Right.
we have a powerhouse.
That's
Right.
right. You got results. You get results. Yes, ma'am.
Yep.
Yeah.
And with our guests that's coming in, it's just amazing because the ones we didn't call, it doesn't mean they didn't know. There's some that's still saying, hey, look, do the best you can. We're here, right?
Mhm.
And it doesn't diminish those who are not seen, okay? Because I like the shadows. Shadows are good for me.
Well, I'm
Right?
letting you guys know that we are up front and center. We're on your front doorsteps right now. We're not
Yes,
in the
we are.
shadows anymore.
Yes,
We're in the front
we are.
center. We're pushing.
We're
We're pushing.
pushing. And what started in the shadows is now sprouting up, Miss Williams, as that seed. We've planted. It's deep. It's embedded deep, and God is the root of all of this. So if you're going to cut it off, you got to go to God to cut it off. Because right now, I don't really have a worry. I don't have a worry. And I was talking on my podcast last night. I had a young lady. She was one of 23 co-authors of a book dealing with faith. And I was like, today we have these conversations about faith. And I say, people say, well, yeah, I have the faith. And then you look behind them, there's this parachute behind them. I'm thinking, well, what's the parachute for? Well, just in case. Nah. When you trust God, you don't need a parachute. Just jump. It's like what you said, Ms. Williams. Either we're doing it or we don't. The trying aspect was for my mother. So I did not, you got to honor thy mother and thy father. Okay. So whenever I say trying, that's me honoring my mother. I don't want a lightning bolt to come down and go, did not tell you this.
I'm going to do it every time you say try.
Every time. And so I do not. I honor her in life and I honor her in death because I'm a direct result and a reflection of who she is, all 5 of her sons. So now that I have Natalie and Miss Williams telling me you better do it, well, mommy, if you're going to send a lightning bolt, you need to send it over there to them. So no parachute here. No parachute here. I have jumped years ago. I've surrendered years ago. This is about God, whether you believe it, want to believe it. I don't have time for that. I'm on a mission. My ministry is the school system. This is my ministry. And
in your ministry today, you have mentioned a number of times a gentleman by the name of Claude Harriet.
Yes.
And for some reason, he suddenly popped up. I don't know. It's magic. So I'm going to bring him in, and I think Miss Williams, do you still have time, or do you need to?
I'm going to go ahead and go, but I wanted to say hello to Mr. Claude, and I want to tell you guys, hey, I'm just excited about the program. I'm really looking forward to the future.
Yeah.
Hope we can make this thing grow even bigger because, like I said, it's a need. We all need it. We all need it to be here. So,
Yep.
Thank you so much, Miss Williams.
You're welcome. It was great to meet you guys.
She's my superstar down there, guys. That's my
You guys have a great day.
All right, you too.
Bye-bye.
All right. Claude.
How we doing that, Coach?
I'll leave you to it. Thank you for being here, Mr. Harriet.
Hello, Miss Natalie.
You don't want us to go at it because when I met Claude, and I met you through someone. I think it was Ray Senor that we had a conference call that we were doing, and from that point on, we connected and we've been doing it. And you, what I'm about to say, someone else said the same thing to me, almost verbatim. What I'm about to say, you said, Coach, man, when you say you're gonna do something, you're gonna do it. And I said, well, I do my best to put my time and effort into my word. That's all I have at the end of the day is what I say. Okay. Now I can lie to you and it'll be exposed that it was a lie. But if I am true to my word and you had told me, said, man, no matter what you said, you're going to do.
Yes, sir.
And I told all the guys who've come in who represented you that you brought on today, I told them, I said, we're only talking about one name here, Claude. And what we do outside of this for the future is going to be because Claude's involved in it.
Too much credit. Too much credit. I don't feel comfortable with that right now.
Man. So tell us, man, your experience with homelessness, whether you're from Florida and, in that good climate down there, people probably think, it's cold in New York right now, and 6 feet of snow, and people think it's shelter, but people have to eat under those conditions, whether it's warm, tropical, rainy, hurricanes. People still have to eat. Without that lifeline of survival, I mean, how did we do it? So when you were in college, you were in the pros, just growing up as a kid, how did homelessness, if it bothered you, if it was around you, how did it affect you? Talk to everybody. Let everybody know who you are first, Mr. Claude Harrod.
Hey, Coach. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for this platform. It's a blessing. Living by myself is, as I always lead off, I was born in Jamaica, raised in Florida, University of Pittsburgh, and I was raised in a town called Belgrade, Florida, if I left that out. And then University of Pittsburgh, and I was drafted to the Chicago Bears. Moved around the NFL quite a bit. I went to NFL Europe, where I was in the Netherlands and Amsterdam, and traveled through Germany and Brussels, Belgium, and then came back to the States, played with the Lions, the Chiefs, back to the Lions, went to Canada, played in Canada. And in every place I've been, it's been different, but something stays constant that you have, excuse me, you have mental challenges with mental health, and also you have with homelessness. And it's a certain thing that connects us all together, where you have people like yourself who care about others and looking for opportunities to give and help the community is ingrained in me, because my dad's a preacher, community leader, still connects. Sorry about that. Still connects with doing Bible studies and feeding. When I go home, and I spend my days with him, is driving around, dropping off food at the lighthouse. That's where homeless people or people without come by and get a good meal. And then so with that now, it's just a part of me. I even go to say in Canada, we did Feed the Homeless there in Toronto. And in doing those once a week, a number of teammates and myself will go out and connect with the community. And those homeless, I'm sorry for my calls coming in. I'm in the office right now. But those who are homeless there, it was some of the best times. I tell you, we connected. They look forward to seeing us each week. We talk football. We talk about life. We talk about their families. And sometimes you get even deeper and hopefully be able to share the word of God with them. But that wasn't the necessary thing, but that was just something that we led with. And like, hey, we are a Christian group. And they'll have discussions with us. And then also, too, how they got to that situation. It was mind-blowing on so many levels. But it was so encouraging because they were human just like you and me. They had relationships with their wives or significant others, their children, their family members, and some of them didn't. But it was cool just to connect with them, and I think I'm going kind of long with it because I can talk more about that. But
that's okay.
But that was impressive time.
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing about it is when you receive like that, from those who don't have much, but that little bit of time you gave them a thing of hope, People can debate hope all day long. Does it matter or whatever? But you never know what experience or what moment can change a person's life to want to live or want to die, to want to continue on the fight or give up. It's a choice, but when you know you're not in it alone, and you are okay with helping someone. I remember a young man who became one of my closest friends. I was, in the community. I saw this guy on top of this green box, electrical box back in the community. You know what those green boxes look like. He was just in the middle of the night. I'm thinking, sleeping actually. I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Well, I have a long walk home, about close to 20, 30 miles. I want to get some rest before I go home in the morning." I said, "No, man, just come to the house. If you're going to do that, come in the house." That guy stayed with us for almost 6 years. Why? Because, I was able to just say, don't do this tonight. Do it tomorrow. Get some rest. And my mother, she allowed him to hang out with us for almost 6 years. He became one of my closest friends, almost like a brother. Those things happen. You just don't know what will change someone's life. And what we're doing in the school system of teaching these young kids how to grow and not only grow a good citizen, because their home lives are sometimes different from the school system. Come on, man. We got work to do.
Now, Coach, one of my players I coached, we called him Kickstand. That was his name. Big fella, strong, powerful. But he lived in the shelter with his sister and his mother. And this is 3 years back.
Right.
And with this young man, crazy about it was we had to rush after practice on weeknights to rush to get him back home, so he can get there before the meal was packed up.
Right.
This is a young man who's a big fella, very active, working hard, but we're rushing, like we have to leave the huddle when coach is talking to the players early so we can get him home in time for meals. And so when all this was taking place, we had devised a plan to come up with a support where we're going to, we're going to set up with IHOP here in DC, because the owner, who was a former NFL player as well, one of my teammates, Brother Tyoka Jackson, where we're going to set up a time where we can have a life skills sessions at IHOP to have our meals and help these kids have not just a meal, but we try to go off IHOP healthy side of the menu and give them some healthy food as much as possible, and educate them on the choosing to win theme that we have with our organization. But that was tough, and that was just one person.
Right.
That was one person, and thank God his mother was able to move out of the shelter, and she found housing. But those things still remain with that young man and his sister, that they live in the shelter, and there's so many more out there, like how we're trying to bring awareness to today.
Absolutely. And so with what Natalie has done for us with LA Tribune and Facebook and Twitter, Roku. Listen, this is going to happen for me every year. This is not going to change. I will grab more and more of guys like yourselves, and I would like to do more together collectively across the year. Not just once a year, but every so often, what we can do each month together. States, 50 states going on, one event in each state. That's 50 events going on at one time. That's nothing. We are people that can do anything with God's help.
Amen.
So those are just ideas. I have I've told Natalie, if you can take what's inside of here and compartmentalize it and make it into something, I will be, I'm like that.
Pointing in the right direction, right, Coach?
And I know I need good people like you guys to do that, because I'm a mess. I'm a mess, but I mean, well, it's
And
just
since you mentioned, and I always have the pleasure, Mr. Harriet, I can always interrupt Dr. Gray. This is like my little peeve project. But you just mentioned you guys, and I know we also have a lady in the green room. But I want to bring up Mr. Blades, who I'm sure somehow is connected to all of this as well.
yeah.
So let me see. He's not on camera right now, but I'm going to bring him in. There he is. Hello, Mr.
Brother
Blades.
HB.
All right, gentlemen, it's all yours.
All right.
How are
Well,
you guys?
yeah, and I know there's supposed to be another young lady filling out coming in soon. So, but we want to talk to everyone that's out there. But Mr. Blaze, man, let me tell you something. Claude is the man. You already know that. Now, all of y'all know that.
Yes.
Claude's the man. And I always said what Claude wants, Claude gets. So he said the same thing about me, but I'm throwing it back at him.
No, Coach. I'm this young man, Brother HB. I've been impressed with him since I met him his summer year when he came to Pitt for workouts. And when I mean, to fast forward to now, what year was your freshman year, HB? 2002?
2003.
2003 summer? 2003 summer. Brother HB always carried himself different from everyone else in the group. And, you know, he's a trailblazer for his own path, and I always appreciated, admired him for that. But when I came to HB about this opportunity to come on and share his experiences, HB was like, "Yeah, Claude, I'm down. I got this going on this day, but I'll make time to do it."
Yeah.
Then he shared with me that he was already working in that space and trying to bring some encouragement to our youth. So I'll let you and Brother HB connect and share his points.
Well, Mr. Blaze, well, I know you have. There was a guy named, was it Benny Blaze?
Yes, my father.
There you go. Look, I grew up with him, so therefore the name was like, oh yeah, I know who you're talking about. I know the name, but you know, let everybody know who you are, what you do, you know, and we can talk about. I mean, you know, in the past or in the future, we're gonna do it. We're just gonna do it. So, thank you for coming.
Oh, no problem at all. I mean, thank you for having me. You know, it's a big topic for me because I work with at-risk youth every day. At my job, I do the alternative program here at James Allen High School in Charleston, South Carolina.
All right.
And, I mean,
we talking. We gonna talk. Yep.
I mean, I deal with kids that are just coming out of DJJ. This place is a safe place for them to come and get their credits, get them back on time to graduate, and make sure, you know, they have a future for themselves and not feel like, you know, all hope is lost in the future.
Right. Well, my brother, he does the same thing pretty much down in Atlanta. He played for Clemson University, and he's now doing with the kids of that, you know, in and out of that institution, right? And so I have a really easing a special place for you, my brother, that does that type of work. Even though we do the same thing to keep them and try to get them to get to that place, it's still the same work. It's still the same work. And the thing that you guys carry more so than those kids listening to anybody, you have a pro status or a brand called the NFL. Those kids love that. They love that. And to tell how it was, who did you play against? And what if I'm telling you that's the same as a 70, 80-year-old man act the same way when they see a Super Bowl ring? The exact same way. Then a problem youth that where you can come in and calm the waters. Or you can make a 70-year-old man act like a kid again. That pattern right there is why I do the things I do with the National Football League, news anchors, astronauts, you name it. I don't care, because there's things out there that these kids need to know that they can be, and it's not all bad where they were and where they are.
Yes,
That's
I mean, and then just like you said, it's not all bad. It's not where you start, it's where you finish.
That's right.
And, I never wanted to be a guy that just showed up when the cameras were around. I mean, I wanted to do something
Right.
After I got done playing, I was going to make a difference in my community. And I consider my community, any kid that I come in contact with, he's part of my community. So
That's right.
just guys in Florida, just not guys in Pennsylvania or DC area. I mean, I don't care where I am. I mean, I'm looking to make a difference. And if there's anything I can give a kid as far as knowledge or just anything in general, I mean, I'm here to provide that, as kind of like a big brother.
Absolutely. And I'm telling you guys, off this telethon, we're going to talk, because I don't waste time. And Clark knows how I am. I don't waste time. And we have to continue the collaboration from Germany to United States to wherever it needs to go. Because right now I'm on the brinks of getting back to the military installations across the world. I had a contract. Now the contract is in works again. If I can get that, it puts us around the world. So we're coming. We're here, and we're gonna do it. And I thank you guys for your time, man. And I know your day could be doing something else, but like I said to folks, homelessness, hunger don't take a day off. It is not gonna ever take a day off. And we just have to create different avenues to peddle God's work through hope and their light. And thank you. And I'm just one, but I tell you, it's bright when the light's on.
And I'm going to jump in real quick because I always have a question for the special guests who make their precious time available. Mr. Blades, Mr. Harriet, what is your advice for the kids of today? What is your best advice so that they can look hopefully in the future? What's your best tip that you have for them?
I couldn't hear you. You broke up a little bit, so I couldn't hear the question.
Okay, so I apologize. What is your best tip or your best piece of advice for the young kids of today so that they can have a hopeful, good future? What is the advice that you would give them?
I mean, lean on the people that are trying to do right by them. I mean, I think sometimes kids get confused by, I mean, like a person like me, like I'm very into it. I mean,
we lost Brother HB there.
Yeah.
All right. I'll pick up the question. Best advice is, it comes from our standpoint as well, to make sure that someone is myself, being available and making myself available for those in the community and getting involved, but also too for that young man and young woman, young lady to really connect and have discernment on who they're following after, who they're looking up to, who they're gathering information from. Right. And just know that you have an option to do something different. If your family has done something one way your whole life and for generations, and it hasn't gotten the rewards that you need or what you expect, be okay to choose. There's other options. There's other options out there. Sorry. There are other options out there that we can grow from, and stay connected. Stay connected with that positive role model. Stay connected, and it's going to be a little difficult. Sorry, it's going to be a little difficult because you're doing something new and trying to build new habits, but it's worth it in the end, and it's worth it. And just fight against that, as we will say, the flesh, to make you want to do something that's not. You may know that's not the right thing to do. But I think more is on us. I really do think, Ms. Natalie, is on people like Coach, is on myself, Brother HB, to really get involved and to share that opportunity with our young people.
Mm-hmm. Yep. There we are. Got you back.
Exactly.
HB? Can you hear us, HB? Is he?
Yeah, I'm not sure if he can hear us right now.
Yeah.
And while he's getting that situated, one of the things that I do some work with in food drives every third Saturday here at by the White House is a homeless food drive. And
Right.
sometimes people come out with their kids. A lot of times it's a lot of adults. And the biggest thing that I would say for us who are involved or anyone who wants to get involved is patience. You know, it's just patience. It's patience with, you don't know what someone is dealing with, but you be consistent in who you are in your purpose and look past the initial response you may get if it's a negative one, and just continue to give them love and continue to be who you are, who you set out to be that morning, and helping those, and not have the expectations that they're gonna be all grateful for you, but they still need the love and the help.
Sure. And in history, and you take a look back at some things. It's going on 3 years, Claude, since you and I have known each other. And time doesn't wait. And 6 years of this program, this initiative, I didn't know where God wanted to take me. I didn't want to do it. Right? I knew I wanted to help and find avenues to help, because someone asked me a question when I was coaching. Coach, what's going to happen with these kids when you're not here? I'm thinking, well, that shouldn't be my question. It should be yours. You're the administrator in the school. If I get my kids to go from 1.5 grade point average to a 3.3, you should be taking that model and continue it, in the school system. So what? I'm only there for 4 months. That means it tells you these kids are smart enough to learn when they want something, but then they're lazy because no one's challenging them. So that's why I said agriculture. What can we do every day? Food. Let them grow some food. Let them help these young kids out here. That's what this really came from. That's all it was, is me trying to figure out a way to help these high school football players to stay engaged so their grade point averages would not fall. And that's the truth.
I'm not sure if you watched the new Wakanda Forever, but they hit on that, in that the kids there in the school, not hoping it's not spoiler alert, but the kids in the school were growing and using their resources around them to feed themselves and to feed the school and the kids involved in it. So those type of that's the initiative that you've already brought here, and that we, as you said, in connecting with one another, we can get that done.
We get it done, and from continent to continent, because we all have to eat, and because the first order of life of existence was to multiply, to be fruitful, because I've already provided everything for you. That's simple.
And work the land. He gave Adam the job to work the land.
Exactly. Right? And we have to get back to that simple concept where the kid, the individual who was not book smart, but knew how to till the land and tell you how to grow the food. Okay? So it wasn't about reading, it was about knowing a trade. That, God, Lord. I don't know if I'm saying something wrong or right here, but I'm telling you one thing, it's mind blowing that we didn't have hospitals. We didn't have doctors at one point. We weren't born with clothes on when we came to this earth, and yet we still survived. By the grace of God, we can go back and we can find our way back, guys. We can find our way back, but you got to be willing to do it. Got to be willing to do it.
And thank you so much, Mr. Harriet, for making the time. I know you are busy helping others, serving others. So appreciate your time and making all of the connections for us. So thank you so much.
No worries. I'm honored, and I just have some calls to attend to. But time allows, I'll be back on this call, okay? And I appreciate it. And you should look for my good buddy, my brother Alex Lewis as well.
Yes,
we coming on here soon.
Yeah, he came on already. Yeah.
Oh, he came on. Okay, all right, perfect. See, already spoken. Yeah. Well, thank you, Ms. Natalie. Thank you, Coach. Blessings to you.
Thank you. Same to you, sir.
All right.
Yeah, man.
Oh,
That's the guy. That's the glue to all this stuff that I've been doing. So
that's the glue.
that's the glue.
But you still have the mission. So, as we're wrapping up this second annual telethon,
Yep.
can
Yep.
you just summarize what this agricultural science initiative is about? Because some more people have come on since we've been running this. What is this initiative, and what do you need? I'm going to
Well,
make you ask.
all right. I know I'm explaining all the hard part first. Okay, that's asking folks to support this program. Why? Because it's about our future, and right now, our kids in the school system to help out with these 1.5. Now, there's currently 49.4 million kids in the school system, and I don't want these numbers to get lost. But there's 1.5 million that they're deemed to be homeless. But that number is probably 3 times greater than what's being reported. Those are just reported numbers. Okay, we all have a situation with hunger in this country. 40% of the food that is processed and that goes to our stores end up in the landfill at the end of the day each year. 40%. Now those are real numbers. You can just take your time and do the research. It's right there in your face. So the money, yes, helps. The material, yes, allows the initiative to grow in the school system, in the classrooms, outside of the classrooms, inside the into the garden program. So what is the initiative? The initiative is to feed our homeless children and teach them how to have a solution of growing their own food versus someone doing it for them or giving and helping all the time. If you can help yourself, someone said, give a man a fishing pole and a hook, they can go out and catch fish, something like that. But this is what we're doing. We're giving them the rod. We're giving them the string. We're giving them the hook and say, the fish are out there, go do it. That's what the initiative is about. It's about self-alliance and letting us as a 5-year-old learn how to grow food up until the rest of their life, starting in our school system, right? The ask part, donations, sponsorships, partnerships, investments, all that. That's what we're asking. That's where we are right now from 1 year. Because last year we weren't here like this, Natalie. We weren't here. We're here now. And now we're teaching currently in the school system. The initiative is teaching K through 12. Now we're able to get materials. We're asking for donations. Companies I have a great sponsorship package for this initiative where it takes $2,000 to clear an acre of land in our 50-acre land that's donated. So we're asking companies, if you want to, be a sponsor, $2,000, $1,000, $500 will put your flag in that area of 2 acres, an acres and a half acre for that sponsorship. So we have companies that's already doing it now. What you can give, because you don't have that type of money, every cent count. It doesn't matter. Give what you can. And I say doing nothing changes nothing. So I can give you avenues to donate. Okay. And we haven't talked about that. I've put that out on the Facebook live page, but I can give how to do it here. If you have Zelle, if you have Venmo, if you have PayPal, you can use the same email address to donate. That is Dominant Force. That would be DOMINANT Force FORCE 21 at yahoo.com. If you do cash, a lot of people do cash apps now. Cash app would be $ capital D, capital FORCE, capital A, capital S, capital I. That's Cash App. if you're doing a check, we want to run it through our foundation, our 501c partner, which is Foundations of Mankind. And, you want to get the address, you can email me that so we can send it out to you, or you can inbox, or you can even ask Natalie and we'll get it to you. Right. So that's the funding side. The donation side, we are looking for clothes, anything for hygiene products, donated time for mental health, all that. We're looking for everything that can give that a school may have a need for their kids. So the volunteer, go to your school to see if the program is needed. Call me. We can get it implemented in the program and go from there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Gray, for wrapping this up for us. Just one more note. The agriculture science program, we had Miss Williams on earlier. She was breaking down the very high level curriculum that they have designed. So this is not just hands-on. This is STEM based. This clearly, if you listened to her, also impacts not just the kids' mental health or critical thinking ability. It transfers into other classes. Many of them do want to become farmers, but they're also sharing their new learned information. They're going out and researching themselves. So we can clearly see that this has a huge impact, even outside of the idea of self-sustainability. Yep. And of course, in addition to that, any funds raised go to the homeless, go to the programs. That's what this is about, while Dr. Gray is trying to expand this program even further. You can easily reach him, Dominant Force. He's put the information in here as well. And so without any further ado, we've had a lot of guests on. More guests are going to show up. More people are going to show up. We've seen a lot of NFL supporters, and that is kind of important for us to remember. Now we're talking about people who have seen what Dr. Gray is talking about. They didn't all get thrown into the NFL and had a happy life ever after. They were pointing out their stories as well, either for themselves or for people that they knew. So in order to eradicate that, we all have to come together and work together. The Los Angeles Tribune is proud and honored to be able to have supported this event. And of course, we do know that none of the views and opinions expressed here today are that of the Tribune. However, I hope you learned a lot. And Dr. Gray, are there any last words while I'm starting to flicker again that you'd like to share?
Yeah, just, we're not going to do this alone. We cannot do this alone. With God's grace and guidance, it's already a success. And, because I never thought that I never thought that I would do something like this. But like I said, I'm just pleased of the response that we've had in 2 years. This is the first year of implementation of only 3 months. More schools are coming in. We hope to be in more and more schools next year because 22 budgets and 22 planning years over. So we have to look at 23, 24, 25 and just plan for the future. And I think our kids right now are changing North Carolina right now in the Charlotte-Mecklenburg area, at home at least, to tell mom and dad we need to be more involved. So it's about the kids. It's about the kids.
It's always been about the kids with you. So thank you, Dominant Force Agricultural Science Initiative. Reach out. If you can't find him, you can reach out to me. I will connect you. Remember, it's not just about giving the money. It's about all of the materials. And Ms. Williams is going to put in a list of what she needs as well. Or as Dr. Gray was pointing out, it is also obviously about you volunteering your time.
That's right. Yeah.
So thank you, Dr. Gray. I'm going to close us out with a thank you to the Los Angeles Tribune.
Thank you, guys.
Welcome to the Los Angeles Tribune page. Here you will find original news programming, exclusive digital events, and shows that are directly from the community. At the Los Angeles Tribune, We believe in giving a voice to the voiceless. We are proud to be the only national brand to empower everyday people to make a difference. Since 1886, our reputation has been built on truth and responsibility. Thank you for watching and making a difference.
For general inquiries, contact today. Thank you on behalf of the Los Angeles Tribune team.